So the topic for today is: should we ever encourage law breaking? Activists will often tell others to break unjust laws, but should that be encouraged? For instance, should immigration activists encourage people to cross the border? Should Second Amendment advocates encourage people to resist gun confiscations? If your answer is different for each example, how do you justify that? Yeah, so this has come out, oftentimes, right? This is like a regular thing, especially in leftist circles. I feel like we get a lot of this. But it happens on the right too, especially again when it comes to Second Amendment. And is that the path that we should be going down? Should we be encouraging people to do that or like work within the system? But yeah, so I'm curious what you all have to say. I will start with Captain A. Jones.
Yeah, this is a really tough one, and I kind of think it's going to boil down to the individual issues. And I'm me personally, I'm not going to be able to put baby in a basket, so to speak. Like I'm not going to be able to have that first principle to be able to paint with a broad brush every single instance that we're talking about. Like, I think when we're talking about immigrants coming across the border, you're goddamn right. We fucking invite them over. We say, yes, please come over to our country. If you are a refugee, if you are fleeing, you are war torn or whatever the fuck is wrong with your country, we want you to come over here. And yes, that invariably means that you're breaking the law and doing it, which invariably means by saying that I'm encouraging you to do so. But like, yes, we want those people over here. But then there's probably going to be examples where I'm going to say absolutely fucking not. So anyway, I'll leave it there and get into it.
Okay. Let's go to Tiberius.
Yeah, so man, I've been thinking about this since I got invited, and I gotta be honest, this is a circle I can't square in a lot of ways, because in a perfect world, I'd be like, yeah, I'm very much a law and order kind of guy. There's rules, we need to follow them, and that's how we get ahead. But in reality, I don't think that's how the world works. Is that there is a lot of unjust laws. There's a lot of there's biases in how the laws are enforced, and just sometimes the laws are shit. Marijuana laws in particular, right? So the problem that I have here is that I think there's a line. I don't know exactly where that line is for any given issue, and I actually have to go with Jones here. I think people are going to draw those lines differently depending on what the issue is. Some people care about immigration, some people care about guns, some people care about marijuana, all this shit. Would I ever encourage people breaking the law? No, but I think there's a point where if you feel a law is unjust, you feel that the system doesn't work right, number one is that you need to speak up, speak out, and do what you can to change that on the ground floor. That's, talking to your representatives, campaigning for it, that kind of thing. But if all else fails, do you break the law? And there's sometimes where I just have to give the answer is yes. Well, I hope to explore that as the panel goes on.
Wiggle.
Yeah, I would say, break the law. Break the law, 100%. Break the law. Just don't get caught. See, the second part. Because as long as you don't get caught, that shows that there's a failure. Your whole life, you were doing this dumb shit because you were told that if you cross this line, something would happen. And then that shit never happened. So, like, you'll never know until you break the law. Just make sure you do it smart and you don't get caught. And then your life will be a lot better. Everyone who's always broken a law or broken a rule has lived a better life, invariably. Sometimes they went too far, and then they fucked up. They don't fuck up. But as long as you don't fuck up, you'll live a better life. If you never smoked weed and you lived in a state where it's illegal, well, then you'll just never smoke weed, right? If you imagine living your life always looking at all the codified rules and never breaking them, and then one day, you think you're the model citizen. One day, someone walks up right next to you, richer, has a more beautiful spouse, makes more money than you, has a better life in general, and then they say, "What the fuck?" And they tell you all the stories of how they broke the law. You look like a real idiot, wouldn't you? So don't be that idiot. Break the law.
Automatic pan. Are you that idiot?
Dan, well, I agree with the idea that it's morally permissible to break unjust laws. I don't know about stealing and doing other stuff to get ahead in life. That's maybe not something I would quite support. But if you think a law is unjust, I definitely think that gives you the right to break that law. However, I don't think you should be suggesting others do this because it is very risky, right? In the immigration issue, you probably shouldn't suggest to immigrants, hey, illegally cross the border, because that could get them caught up in, an ICE camp. It could get, they're going to be the ones paying the consequences for breaking the law, not you. When it comes to civil disobedience, I think it's important that the person encouraging breaking the law is the one who, bears all of the risk and makes it so that they're the one to suffer. Because if we just tell people, hey, yeah, cross the border, it'll be fine. Well, that's a lie. If we just tell people, hey, yeah, if they're coming to take your gun, just stop them. That's also a lie. You're probably going to get shot and killed. I do think it's morally permissible, but you should make sure that each and every individual should have the opportunity to decide whether or not they want to break that unjust law for themselves. You shouldn't pressure them to do it, especially since pressuring them to do it will probably lead to unfortunate consequences for them.
Okay. All right. I
So,
guess
I think
go ahead.
in the case especially of immigrants coming to this country, they have already made the determination and the calculation for themselves that making that, I mean, you're right, incredibly dangerous trek is less dangerous than them potentially staying in their country for a longer period of time. Whether no matter what the issue in that country is, whether it's Syria, war torn, or Venezuela and Bitcoin, it doesn't really matter. If they have made that calculation, then I think that we should at least respect that decision enough, because that's a huge decision. It's not like picking almond one brand of almond milk over the other. This is like life or death. So they've made this determination. I think we should respect that.
Sure, but they're going to be marginal cases to that, right? Yeah, I agree. Maybe 90% of the people, they're going to come regardless of whether or not Captain A. Jones posts on Twitter, immigrants come on in,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But
100%.
there are going to be some who are like, oh man, this is really risky. Maybe, where I'm at is in a bad spot, but is it really that bad? Is it worth it? That, they're on the edge. They're an edge case. So they're still undecided about whether they're going to take this. And in the marginal case, you would still be encouraging them to do an action that's going to probably result in their harm. So yeah, I agree with you. It's not going to be the case for every single immigrant. You're not going to, someone's not going to be living a happy life in Mexico, right? And just you say, hey, come immigrant here. And they're like, oh, I'm going to drop everything and come on over.
Couldn't I say the exact same thing though, if I were to encourage them to stay in their same country? If I encourage them to stay in their own in their own country, rather, they could be facing, who knows, gang violence. They could be the target of religious violence. They could be potentially putting themselves in the path of an army or something like that. There's so I think
I'm not saying you shouldn't tell them not to do it, right? I agree with you. I think it's a decision that's up to them to make. I mean, obviously, you and I, we don't know the situations of how dangerous they are, what they're willing to risk. The only people who know that is them, right? So I think that encouraging, while I agree that we shouldn't necessarily discourage them, although potentially making them aware of all of the dangers of crossing, I think if that discourages them, they still have a right to know, and it's not bad to tell them. But I don't think we should encourage them to do it because, I mean, it could end up bad for them, and there are going to be those marginal cases. So I'm very pro immigrant, pro open borders. I've helped lead out water in the desert for illegal immigrants coming over. But I don't think you should be encouraging them, because people die, and you don't want to be responsible for that. So that's my point.
I'd say you shouldn't be discouraging anything. You should only be encouraging. Instead of discouraging, just put up a deterrent. You don't want to have any written statements saying you don't want people coming to your country, what have you. If you don't want people coming to your country, you make it really difficult for them to come into your country. You give them the obstacle, because like you said, they're thinking from their own perspective, and they're willing to assess those risks and make that determination on their own. And so you just make it very difficult to come into your country from these specific spaces or what have you. And then you only encourage. If you want people to come to your country, then you encourage them. And then that way you could vet. You could say, okay, we'll make it easier if you do this or that. But I wouldn't say say don't come. It's dangerous. Don't come. It's a dangerous trek. That's kind of It's like it's almost like coming from a standpoint that seems kind of unusual, unnecessary. Like somebody who's trying to trek into your country to come to your country, they don't give a shit whether we think it's dangerous or our government thinks it's dangerous. They're gonna make that determination on their own. The only thing you can do is say, well, these are the obstacles. Figure it out on your own.
I want to piggyback off of that a little bit and go with number one. Most people don't pick up and leave home to go somewhere else if they don't feel like they have any other option. I mean, home is home for most people. They don't want to do that. But the other side of that is that this is one of the things that actually bothers me about my fellow right-wing compatriots is that they're like, oh, well, no, just don't do illegal shit, right? Apply over there. I'm sitting there like, wait, don't you have to largely be, if you're a guy who walked 2,000 miles to get here, you have to commit a legal action just to even apply for asylum? So like there's a level here where like this just completely breaks down for me because you got to actually have processing and vetting and all that other stuff. But we literally don't even allow you to do it until you're on the U.S. And then at that point, you are a legal immigrant or what have you. It's one of the most asinine things that I can possibly think of because it's like, all right, cool. What do you do? Like, I can't go with this logic. So, someone can chew on that if you want.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of like how I feel about it. Like, I'm really hard pressed to not want to invite somebody over who is like trying to get over here. You know what I mean? Like, it's like think about it like on a really personal, like small level. If there was somebody on the other side of your fence and like you had your fence fenced off and you had a well on your side of the fence and they were like, please, like, I don't have any fucking water. It's a desert over here. There's nothing over here for me. I'm trying to get on your side of the fence. I'd want to help that person. I wouldn't want to keep them from my side of the fence. I wouldn't, and
Sure,
I also,
if the fence is
wouldn't want
electric, you
to-
shouldn't encourage them to climb over it, right?
Is the fence electric? Did we do
Well,
that? It was that
Yeah,
Trump.
they have
It was that
electric
Trump's
fences.
thing?
My
Okay.
point is,
Wait, hold
it's
on.
not
I may
just,
have
do you want
missed that
immigrants to
part.
come in, right?
I think that's
because I agree. I don't think anyone.
Are
on this
there
panel
laser
disagrees.
sharks?
But
Are there
the problem,
sharks
no, Captain,
fuck
the
around
problem,
and
laser
find out.
beams?
the
Like, fuck
problem
around and
isn't
find
that
out.
you want
You're
immigrants to
border.
come in, right? Because we all
Fuck
agree
around.
with that. The problem is that you're encouraging them to do something extremely dangerous that could harm them, right? Like, no one here is
But what-
questioning your immigration policy or your ideas with illegal immigrants. We're questioning, should we put them at risk?
But wait. But again, I'm just going to go back to what I said previously. Like, but I don't know the situation that they're fleeing, but like Tiberius said, nobody wants to leave their home. So I have to assume that they're fleeing an incredibly bad situation. So like, that's why I'm saying when I break it down on like a more personal and smaller level, I'm not going to be like, no, stay on your side of the fence. Oh, here's a cup of water. That's fucked. We have space over here. Let them on our side of the fence. We have resources. In fact, there's a lot of good data to say that overall they help the economy. Yes, I know that when it's localized in some places it's worse, in some places it's better. That's what averages are for. And overall, on average, bonus, benefit. We want people, we need people. We need more people to come into this country. We actually need it for the economy, for everybody.
All right, so just so this doesn't turn into an immigration debate, let's move this to guns for a minute, and I want to see where you guys are peg on this.
Yes, guns way better. Let's
All right,
fucking
yeah.
do
So,
it.
so
right
we're-
here, bro.
So, all right, Jones. Are you okay with just Uncle Sam coming in just taking your guns, or do you think you should hide them? Think you should keep them for your personal safety?
Wait, how are they taking them?
But let's just say that they make my AR-15 illegal tomorrow. Like, you can't have a semi-automatic rifle anymore of some kind of dimensions.
You
Like,
have
I
to
don't know
turn
what
it
the
in?
law- Let's assume that that's the case, or it would be. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know how
I'd
you
be
actually.
against. I would be totally against that, for the record.
Okay,
No,
fair
but
enough.
the question is, if that becomes a law, how should you react?
Yeah.
Right?
That's a yeah. Okay, so in that situation, I'm assuming I'm in California, so my opinion's not going to be highly liked here. So like maybe it really depends. Like, what is Gavin Newsom going fucking fascistic over here? Is he turning all the restaurants into restaurants that he can go into with no masks? I don't know. It really depends a lot on like the situation on the ground.
So,
To answer your question though a little more seriously, like it's really tough. I think I would be prone to advocate for that this is a bad law, that we should not be that we should not just let it happen. But at the same time, I'm not sure if I would necessarily say you should fight back, because again, I would need to see the other situation on the ground. Like that alone necessarily does not determine whether I'm for or against it. Like, are they also rounding up immigrants and fucking putting them into camps?
Sure. So
Like,
I'm trying to keep this. I'm trying to keep this into like a streamlined hypothetical. I'm just going to assume.
I know, but that's the problem with streamlined hypotheticals. I think is that that I guess that's why I'm trying to poke holes in it as well.
Right. Which that's you ruined the fun.
Give it to me. Give it to me.
Sorry.
All right. So Wiggle, you are the proud owner of an AR-15. You've got about 300 rounds. You never
human killing device.
Yes, human killing device, right? Anyway, so let's assume that you actually like it, right? You feel that you are proficient with them, you like them, and the government has no fucking right to tell you otherwise. Then they come in, they write a law, turn on your guns. You can't have them; they are illegal, and you can't even get grandfathered into it. You have to give it up. Are you fucking hiding in the wall? Are you burying it? Or are you, keep it in your closet? Or are you turning it in? And, if you're not doing any of that, why?
I mean, well, first and foremost, man, in New York, we Millie rock. And I'll hide it in my sock. All right. First and foremost, I will not be giving up my weapon. I will not. In that case, in the scenario, I don't own a weapon. But if you're telling me I own a weapon, I sure as hell I'm not gonna give it up. And then sure as hell I'm not gonna do it for free. All right, first and foremost, and that's the first part, is that you're gonna tell a bunch of people that bought something that you have to give them up. I didn't hear you speak about money at all, so fuck that. And then on top of that, yeah, of course I would hide it. There's all these things you can hide. It pulls back to what I was saying originally, is that you can break the law as long as you don't get caught. And that's when all these Americans will figure that out firsthand, because they're gonna have these things that they spent a lot of money on and they don't want to give up. And now the government's looking for them. So I guess it's going to be a game of hide and seek, won't it? And I'd assure you that a lot of Americans are great at hide and seek, and you're not going to find all their weapons. So yeah.
That's a good point, because I think it's almost like Schrodinger's law. It's like if you don't get caught for breaking the law, did you really break the law? It's like you're not actually breaking the law until
my God.
Mind blown. I fucking know. I know.
Oh my God. Oh, I love you, man, but don't do this to me, please. All right. So what?
How's chat reacting to me right now? Do they think I'm crazy or funny?
I haven't looked on them for a second.
I haven't either. It makes me nervous.
They're sending in a bunch of question marks every time you talk. It's really rough out there. Prime, don't correct me. Remember, he should talk to you in the beginning. So
that's indeed the case. Yeah.
Well, so I agree kind of like with what you guys are saying, but when it comes, so I think we're all on board with when it comes to unjust laws, is it morally permissible to break them, right? Does anyone here disagree that if a law is morally unjust, it's okay for individuals to break them?
It's not just okay, they should.
Because I smoked weed forever while it was illegal in California.
They should break them, but it's like it's the part of what makes us human that makes us not break them. And that's that we fear consequence. We're survivors. We want to live longer. We don't want to go to prison. We don't want to experience those faults. So we know morally that we should break some of these laws. Sometimes we don't. It's like the idea of walking down the street and you see someone getting their ass beat, and you're like, damn, that person really doesn't look like they should be getting their ass beat. That person looks like, there's someone's mother or some shit. I don't know. But you keep walking because, I don't want to get involved with that. Fuck that. I don't want any harm done to me. I'm a survivor, and I'm going to keep walking and just ignore it. It's like that. You should do something morally, but you don't.
That's interesting. So do you think it's morally wrong to not break an unjust law? Because that's kind of
for me, yeah. Saying? Yeah, for me, yeah. It's an unjust law. It's an unjust law, and you're allowing it to exist. And you have the knowledge that it exists, and it's an unjust law, and yet you don't do anything about it. You just let it.
Well, you can do stuff about it, right? Like, what if someone does a law of the legal channel? Right, but it might not be breaking the law, right? Like, let's say someone lobbies for, to legalize weed or something.
Yeah.
Do you think that they? I guess weed's a bad example because obviously weed affects the self. It's not, a bad thing. But I don't know. Like, What's another
I-
example?
Can I piggyback off this for a second?
Yeah,
because
sorry.
yeah, no, you're
I'll think of an
fine.
example and go for it.
No, because I wanted to take it here. Is that sometimes I will even be able to like take off the morality of these laws, and I'll be like, all right, is this even practical? Is this reasonable? Right? And marijuana laws are absolutely on the docket for me because 400 feet that way is the state of Illinois, where recreational use is legal, and I can't even get a medical card in this state because that's not legal here. So is that like, forget the morality? Is that even objectively doable, right? Because I can go over to Effingham, Illinois and buy my stuff and it's great. And I enjoy the trip and all that shit. And I can recreation use over there. But the moment I cross the fucking river, it's not okay anymore. What the fuck is that shit? Like it's not even the moral context that I have a problem with some of these laws. It's the active practicality of it is just like, why would you do this shit? You can have tax revenue, you can have all these wonderful things that come with it, and we clearly have seen that, policing this shit in the way just sends people off to jail. So why would you even practically execute some of these fucking?
Yeah, and I think like morally, it's wrong to put people in jail for smoking marijuana non-violently, which, trust me, when you smoke marijuana, it's non-violent. I just like it's wrong, and so then I extend that to immigration, and I feel like it's wrong to not allow people into our country especially people.
Have you really filled on the immigration talk?
Yeah, you're damn right. I'm bringing it back, especially people who have made the calculation, and also like the determination for them and their families to leave the country that they're in. Like, I'm way more liberal than that. I think that we should have open borders because we should have a free flowing movement of labor, so that labor can flow more efficiently in the world economies. I think it would actually be beneficial for world economies to go open border for this reason, with large programs like the work programs, etc. Not necessarily like everyone's a citizen of every country, but you get what I'm trying to say.
God damn it, Jones! Stop turning this into an immigration debate. Fuck.
No, fuck that. I'm bringing it back to immigration. Okay,
but we all agree with you, Jones.
He
came into my chat earlier. Okay.
The last thing that he said, the last thing that he actually said, I don't agree with, because it's good for some people, but it's terrible for others. Brain drain is absolutely a fucking thing.
I mean, okay, well, I'm not even gonna.
I don't even know what brain drain is.
Immigration.
Wait, really?
Because you've been smoking too much goddamn pot, apparently.
No, I heard brain drain was
what I was talking about with Wiggly, because I think it's an interesting
brain
thing.
drain is a blowjob.
A
right?
moral, yeah, exactly. Do you have a? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Yeah, why not? Anyways,
he's not wrong.
Do you have like, for example, if you were alive in like the 1960s, would it be morally wrong for you not to protest for civil rights? Would it be morally wrong for you to, like, I guess, go about your life and doing stuff? Like, you can agree for stuff. You can even if you like agree with stuff, even if you like vote for the civil rights, like vote for candidates that support the Civil Rights Act and stuff. Is there something wrong about not standing up? And putting yourself in the line of fire for civil rights.
It's tied to experience and knowledge. So it's like, as long as if you have the knowledge that what you're doing isn't going to actually create the change necessary to to fix your problem, then you inherently are like morally like responsible. So it's like, and then it's about how morally responsible you're okay with being. Like, so for example, like if you knew that you were advocating for something, like you're advocating for the legalization of like marijuana or something, but the way in which you were doing it wasn't going to actually like affect change, and you were just doing it anyway, and you weren't also breaking a law that could do more, then yeah, you would be morally responsible because you would know. And as long as you knew, that's the part. So if you didn't know, if you were like during if you lived during the time of the civil rights movement and you did something on a small scale and you didn't know that it wasn't going to affect the change that you wanted, but you thought it did, then no, you wouldn't really be morally responsible, right? And that's why it's important to educate people and say, like, that's not going to get what you want. You want somebody to come and say, that's not really practical, is it? Like you want someone to do that.
And I think like that's actually a dovetailing right into that. Like I was thinking of the hypothetical, like what if you have somebody who's like who's totally pro civil rights, but they're a fucking idiot, and they know that they're a fucking idiot. They're self-aware enough to know that they're a fucking idiot, and they know that if they open their mouth about civil rights, they're going to literally turn people the other way. They're going to make people racist. Like that's how stupid they are.
Is this a personal excuse?
Wow.
I'm asking for a friend, okay? But like, I'm just saying. Like, I wouldn't want that person on my side. There's actually, I think there's like, you could kind of like use more or less that logic. Like, there's a lot of people who maybe they're not fucking idiots, but like, they're not the people that we want representing us, or like representing the cause, or like, you know, fighting for fucking civil rights or whatever the cause is. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of what I thought of, at least. Thanks, Pan. I'm gonna fucking remember that, buddy.
Can somebody help me? I'm pulling error 404s right now.
On what? What do you need help?
If you're dumb, you shouldn't be a leader. So that's just all I'm saying. It's like, if you're dumb,
I don't know.
you shouldn't be a leader. You should just let someone else lead you and be a follower. It's not that bad being a follower, all right?
That's aimless.
True.
That sounds like the most aimless thing I've ever heard Wiggle say. That's fantastic. All right, cool.
It's true. If you're a dumb person, if you don't understand something, yeah, let someone else do all the work for you, because all they need is a number, right? At the end of the day, all you need is a number. All you need is a number to show to some like a congressperson or what have you, and they'll go like, "Ooh, wow, that's a lot of people. There's a lot of constituents that want this." So just be that number. You don't have to be the leader. You don't have to be the spokesperson for something.
Wait, is this your actual take? For real?
Yeah, why? You think it's
okay? Well, okay. So
I don't think that's a bad take at all.
There's a level where it is, and there's a level where it isn't. Okay, so let me like. I'm serious. I'm going to be for real. Okay, you know, there's a level here where, you know what, some people are dumber than a box of rocks, and they literally couldn't find their ass in the dark with a flashlight and a map, right? But on the other side of that is that, you know what, I'm going to say it. Most of the dumbest people I know are some of the most friendly, compelling people that actually build out really good communities that can help out people, and they are leaders in their own right. Now, is that good? Is that bad? I don't really care. What I do care about is that if you have an ability, you know, be it to be a force for change, you should do that. So I'm gonna have to fight you on this, Wiggle. It's like, yeah, I don't care.
I like the framing of it, like, you know, the dumb, really friendly person in your community that everyone gathers around and is like, there's something about Mr. Cruz, you know, like there's something about this guy. I like being in his yard. I like looking at his guns. There's something about it. No, in reality, like those people, they shouldn't be leaders, and they don't have to be. If they wanted to, they could just be like leaders in their own right. Just means you're funneling people to a leader. They do that. Gather people around and be like, have you heard about this guy? He's really smart, and bring him over and have him speak or her speak or what have you. You know, like you don't want to, in my opinion, you don't want anybody who's incompetent to be in any form of leadership, because at some point it's going to be a problem for you. At some point, if somebody wants to come against your movement or something, they're going to point out the incompetent person, and then you're not going to care if they make a great peach cobbler or if they're like a really nice person to talk to. You're going to be like, why'd you do that tweet in 2014? Or like,
it's almost like,
oh my God.
It's almost like we shouldn't have cared if he was supposedly good at business and could run businesses. Like running businesses has anything to do with fucking politics and making law and being a good fucking leader. All right. Like CEOs are not good leaders. They're just ruthless. All they do is they cut. Okay, maybe I'm just projecting now.
Okay. All right. Well,
I don't even. Yeah.
Back to it.
Tell me how you really feel.
I feel like there's always someone dumber than you, though, right? So even if you are dumb,
stop
just
talking about me,
find
Pan.
someone dumber and leave them.
Okay.
That one wasn't at you, Captain.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah, kind of a self call out, but that's okay. But like, I feel like you can always help make change, no matter how dumb you are, right? Like, I don't know this idea that like
by
you can
liking
be
and
too
subscribing.
dumb. Yeah, I guess by liking and subscribing.
And never commenting.
I mean, I guess. But the problem is, if you're smart enough to know that you're not smart enough to lead, you're not the dumb people that we should be worried about. Right? If you're smart enough to realize, like, hey, you know, I should be careful with what I say because I'm not the smartest person, well, then you're not the person saying stupid shit on Twitter that gets your movement canceled. So I'm not sure this is a problem, because the truly stupid people aren't going to heed your advice because they don't know they're truly stupid. The only people that are going to heed your advice are going to be those that lack self-confidence, and they're like, oh, well, I'm super dumb, even when maybe they might not be. Because honestly, if you have the strategic mind to say, yeah, you know what, I am dumb, I shouldn't say stuff because it could hurt the movement, well, then you're clearly thinking about the movement at a level that's somewhat high up there. So I don't know if this advice practically will have the effect that
But
you
would
are
you want
intending it to
people?
have.
Would you want people in your movement that care more about themselves than your movement to begin with?
How is that caring more about themselves? Isn't that
'Cause
caring
you're
more about
just-
the movement?
But you're describing the person that like cares more about the movement, and so therefore they think about the detriment they could have, and so therefore like they are a smarter person because of that, and that's why they refrain from being a leader. So then that's opposed to the person who doesn't do that calculation, who's like the truly dumb person that you're that you're describing, who doesn't really see that. So in that instance, they would be caring more about themselves than the movement, wouldn't they? They wouldn't be able to do that step of thinking that the movement's more important to them than them, and then therefore they would always be at least parity or thinking they're more important than the movement. So why would you even want them involved?
Well, you wouldn't, but but they wouldn't know that, again, because they think they're smart and stuff, and that they're going to get involved, and they're not going to heed this advice. It's kind of like a catch-22. In order to be dumb enough for this advice to apply to you, you'll be so dumb that you won't see that this advice is actually helpful to your cause.
I want
It's like a
to.
all of
catch-22.
so but I think but what you're saying, and I'm not sure I agree with this, is that being self-aware is smart, or being self-aware makes you not dumb, like that alone.
It's more the opposite, I think. I think it's you can't be dumb and be self-aware. You can be, if that makes sense.
I want to reverse for a second and go with Wiggle on one part here, and that was
I feel like I've known people who know they're stupid, and they will say it. They're like, "Look, I'm not good with numbers or math or words and shit."
I
dude."
don't want to spend the next 20 minutes talking about how much a bitch the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Yeah, come on.
I want to go down where Wiggle was, and that is, let's assume, because this happens so many times, is that you have people that are very self-interested and self-invested who tie themselves into your movement, and they can facilitate and open doors for you. But basically, you know how this calculates, right? There are people that can absolutely help movement by jumping onto it, even though they're self-invested and they're self-interested. There's a lot of people out there, and I'm going to take shots at half of Twitch politics, but hey, whatever. Okay, what do you do with those folks? Because sometimes you don't get without the give. So, take me down the road here. What do you think about?
I'd say you let them in. I mean, everyone's self-interest to an extent, if their incentives are aligned, and them coming, it seems like by stipulation you were saying that they are going to help the movement, but for the wrong reasons. Well, the important thing there to me is that they're helping the movement. So I would say, obviously, you want to have them because you want your... in fact, I think it's wrong to say, oh, well, they don't actually care about the movement, so we're going to not let them in. That's like you're voluntarily hurting your own movement, which in and of itself is kind of an immoral thing to do, in my opinion.
I think this is like it's the idea of like free form versus like a structured thing. So it's like it's a play at it. Is like the more free form it is and easy to join whatever thing you're doing, the more people you're gonna have, and that's really important. But then if you want to disavow, and that's a powerful tool to be able to say like this one person is not with us. You need to have some level of leadership, and you need to have some form of like structure. And so you have to play at those two things, depending on like the amount of people you need to get your goals, and then the amount of people that are disruptive that you can see coming there. I personally am a very risk averse person in that way, so I would want to have structure. I from the very beginning, the way I would think is, if I'm going to do something, I want there to be a way of me registering people. I want there to be a way of me having people aboard that I can say you're a part of this or you're not. I would want some vetting process, even if it was small. And I'd want to have some sort of codified structure where there's someone who can say, this person is not a part of this, or this person, we don't stand with them. They've been removed from a list or something. However, like that's not the same for most people. Like in this day and age with social media, etc., there's the rise of all of these like amalgamous anonymous type of groups.
Yeah, I thank you for asking that because I'm largely exactly in lockstep with you. Is that you can you're going to have people in any kind of movement that are going to be like, oh, I'm part of this movement, I'm pro this movement. But sometimes a movement needs the ability to be like, no, like he says he's with us, but don't fucking like him though. And I'm 100% with you on that. So thanks.
I agree. My movement needs to get rid of the ANCAPs. I'm calling you out, Fabian Liberty. Start your own party. You're an anarchist. You don't vote.
Damn.
Stop claiming like you're one of us. I saw Destiny's video debating 2 libertarians. You know how much that hurt my heart? That he thinks you guys are libertarians and my good name is being soiled? We do need a way of gatekeeping.
Name?
My good name. We need a way of gatekeeping. It's very important.
Fair enough.
Oh no, that's funny.
I got a question for Prime. So you've been very quiet, and I'm sure you wanted this conversation to go a certain way. So where was that, and what is it?
Well, not this
Have we
way.
failed? How hard have we failed?
Probably pretty bad because we're not even talking about the topic.
Yeah. So, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess. All right, so I gave you guys 2 examples, though I wasn't trying to limit the conversation to either immigration or Second Amendment. But there's the third question was if your answer is different for them, then well, how can you justify it? And so when it comes to immigration, I've said it here. I said it during the last small council we had like 2 weeks ago that I think you should break the law. I think the immigration laws here are unjust. I feel that we need to I don't mind encouraging undocumented immigration. I think we have so many resources here, so it's not a matter of resources is why we're keeping them out. It's a matter of history, a matter of racism, a lot of racism, and geopolitics, right? Is why we decided to limit immigration from certain places. But then when it comes to the Second Amendment, well, I'm one of the ones asking for more laws, right? For restricting guns, yeah. And
not everyone's perfect.
Would I say like?
Imagine trying to come into this country and finding out that you can't even have a gun. Jesus. Jesus Christ.
Immediate
Twofold effect
disadvantage.
right there. You get nothing of what you want. They'll be like, what?
You start with 1 stock. Everyone else has a bunch.
Coming from a dangerous country, and then you find out the country you're going to just stop people from having guns. And then the last president they had thought they won the election. And so you'd be like, well, I guess we're going in the opposite direction.
I feel like I'm thinking what are the consequences of breaking these laws, right? The consequences of coming across and successfully getting into the country is
you gotta feel gassed up, bro.
You
feel
can't
like
only look at the positive consequences, right? Because there's also thousands of people that die in the desert a year trying.
Exactly.
Well, no, but that's because hold on, but that's because the laws. That's the unjustness.
Yeah, I'm aware, but encouraging more people to die in the desert isn't going to fix.
No, I don't want to encourage more people to die in the desert. I would encourage the U.S. to have more just laws, to not be so brutal against immigrants, right? I recognize that other people are.
That's not what we're encouraging.
No, yeah. But what I am encouraging is that if people are going to, for certain, know that they're going to die in their other country, right? Or just that their economic prospects are just so dismal. And they can, they're weighing the risk, right? Yeah, then do it, right? If this is a thing that's going to change your life, or save your life, well, then give it a try, right? Why wait to die like a dog in a random Latin American country that's experiencing civic strife, or take a chance. And head over here, right? If there's a gang threatening you and your family, why wait for to get shot being the lucky thing that happens to you, or some other terrible fate? No, come across, make it. I hope you make it here.
Yeah, but I do too. But that's the problem. I hope you make it here as well. But if if encouraging these people to come over guaranteed their success at coming over, I'd be with you all the way, right? But the thing is, encouraging them to come over doesn't guarantee their success. And while it's true that the people who are being targeted by gangs, regardless, they should probably try to come over no matter what, because they're going to die there. But there's a lot of people whose situations might not be that dire. Like, let's say there's a gang, but they're on their communities on relatively okay terms with them or something. Like, they still want to try to flee and stuff.
Let me try
Relatively.
this.
But you can both encourage immigrants to come over and for laws to change in the U.S. This is not just a one thing, a one-way track. We can do both. And actually, in the statements that we're making, we are encouraging both. You see, if we say like we're not only implicitly saying it by saying like, "Hey, come over." I mean, if you then ask me, like, what do I think of the fucking wall? I'm gonna say, obviously, I want the wall down. Come on, you could put that together.
You guys are giving yourselves like the greatest steel man on earth. Is like these people are like, if you're coming from a place where you could get shot and killed and it's like terrible, come over. Like, but that's easier. Like, what if it's a situation where it's like somebody just wants to come into your country? Like, how do you feel about borders? How do you feel about protectionism in general, without having the steel man of like, their life is in danger or not?
Sure. I mean, I already answered that. I thought
You
I
did.
said, yeah. I mean, I think that labor should be freely flowing. I think that would be way better for our economy. We could fill gaps in our economy that we currently cannot fill. For instance, like with nursing. I mean, like places like Cuba, they have 1 million fucking nurses. They can't export them here. They export them to other countries though. So
But how do you think that would affect nationalism?
I'm
Do
sorry.
you think of nationalism as a bad thing?
I don't.
depends on what
I'm
you mean
not.
by
I'm
that.
not a national. I do not think nationalism is a good thing. In general, I don't think that like usism in any way is a good thing.
I don't know. I think usism is very important. However, they can become us. That's what's so great about America. So we should open borders and encourage usism.
But America isn't just one thing. America isn't apple pies and baseball. America is fucking.
Disagree.
America is its diversity.
America as itself is like you can make it into a tool. You can make it as a tool. You give somebody like a word that like I had a conversation with somebody like in Prime's Discord earlier, like some I can't remember the beginning rhetorician, very smart guy. He was writing like a paper on something.
Funny
And
rhetorician.
he's telling me and then he was telling me about like this concept and I thought it was really cool. And then I talked to I think Tiberius and a couple of people with him about it. He had to leave. But it's like imagine making something into an idea and then using that to fool fool people into thinking of something for your own benefit. So you say America is freedom, and you make them think of it as freedom, and then everybody has a different way of thinking of what freedom means. And there is no like uniform what freedom is, but as long as everyone believes that America is this thing, you can utilize that to get people to do drastic things for that idea. And you can get people to really think beyond the scope of a normal human being. A normal human being, the average person's only going to think of their lifetime, and maybe they'll think of their kids or what have you. But you can get someone to think about 50 years in the future or 100 years in the future when you tell them that they're doing this for freedom or they're doing this for something they care about. And so like nationalism allows that because you can create an idea of what your country is. You can say you're doing this for America. And now people, they think those actions they do, there's this extra utility. You're creating utility out of nothingness. And you're saying that utility, you get this utility from doing this action. You'll say, oh, you're more of an American than someone else because you did this.
So I'm going to challenge. I have to challenge that though because hold on, because like some of the most productive people, I don't think give a shit about this country. Those are business owners, businessmen, people who are businessmen.
But how do they get their workers?
People. What do you mean? How do they get the work?
Think about this. Like there's people that will work for companies that are like really big companies, what have you, and they'll make less money than they could working for a competitor just because of the prestige. The idea of saying, I work for this company. I work for one of these big companies. And so they
who does that? I've never known anybody like that.
If you work for a competitor, let's say like I've spoken to an individual who's saying that the big four accounting firms, perhaps you can make less money working for one of these firms, but the more you work there, the more you get this prestige.
Is less money 150 compared to 200,000? Like I I'm
Are
not
you
sure,
are you saying
and maybe in
$50,000
that
is
case,
are you saying
but hold on,
$50,000
but
is not important?
oh my god, but hold on, but in that case, the $50,000
I'll hold on
might
to
be,
$50,000 if
but the
that's what you're asking.
$50,000 might be related to the connections that they have at that company, and that they think that
And
they're
how do you think you
basically
could gain
valuing
connection?
that $50,000 over whatever they think that $50,000 a year is going to be less profitable for them in the long run. Whether that's due to maybe they don't want money, maybe money isn't the ultimate
Point. That's what I'm saying.
goal.
I'm
That's
saying,
but
is
that's
that
what I'm
would he
saying.
work?
No, no,
Would
hold
he
on.
work for one of these?
Businesses, yes, their ultimate goal is profit incentive, but they create
That's
things.
not necessarily true.
But you're
Well, there you
describing
go
what I'm
then.
saying is that you
I
could
think you're
go
describing
somewhere.
what I'm saying, though.
I think
How
I think Wiggly's saying something really right, and I'm not sure you are quite understanding what he's saying. He's saying that people are willing to sacrifice their pay for their prestige, and that if we can get a similar feeling like that for Americans, so
Yes.
that they're willing to work harder as Americans, just because they want the prestige of being a better
And
American.
you see that
we
was
can use that
patriotism,
concept.
and I would agree. I would agree.
Yeah, we can use that concept to better have our citizens be better people.
Use the concept of patriotism to have our citizens be better people. In history, where has that worked? I just want to know what, like, I just, it's very
This
confusing.
is so
to me.
obvious. Like
That's
we're
what-
COVID-19 being a nurse. Being a nurse.
Really, there's patriotism around that. Like,
Yeah,
we
100%.
were all like up in
100%.
arms, and were we giving nurses
Yes.
raises? And were we
This
out
is the
there
point.
like throwing
There was-
parties for nurses, other than maybe we were screaming out the back of our balconies every once in a while? I don't know. I don't think we did shit. For frontline workers, for people who are out there risking their fucking lives every single day, we didn't do.
That's the point. Is they
We
were
gave
risking
them
their lives.
$1.
Are you? I'll finish.
They,
All right.
Dude, they weren't risking. Somebody working
Alright,
$50
you
an
go,
hour
and
at
then
a
I'll go.
dock.
You go, and then I'll go.
Okay. Like if somebody working $15 an hour stocking stuff at a store that is a need,
That's quite a pivot from being a nurse. That's quite.
But that's a frontline worker in the pandemic.
Yeah, but I mentioned nurses.
You used the pandemic as the example,
and then you moved it down to.
I didn't move it down. Hold on.
I'm just
How
describing.
did I move it down?
what
And
you're
also, and again, okay. Well, how did we help nurses?
Thank you very much. That's what we didn't do. And that's what I'm describing, is that nurses, they were willing to go to completely other states to help them deal with COVID problems, etc. Some of them didn't even get that much of a pay raise or anything. And they did this because they were helping save lives, they're helping Americans, etc. That's the idea, is that they're willing to take some form of loss because they're doing this. There was essential workers out there that were like, I'm an essential worker, I guess I'm important, that were higher up. Not necessarily somebody working in, not necessarily a retail worker or the people that you want to strawman it into.
Do you think there's more or less nurses now?
More or less nurses now? I imagine there'd be more nurses.
There's not.
Probably more.
There's the same amount.
Well, I mean, how can you say that?
Well, then, because I just looked up the numbers.
Yeah, but wouldn't there be more people going into nursing? So wouldn't there be more people that are now nurses?
That hasn't borne out in the data yet. So
there's the same amount. So what is your point being?
I'm
that
wondering what your point is. You seem to think that nurses, like all these people, are rushing into nursing for their patriotic duty. Dude, there's the same amount of nurses.
I'm saying, do you believe that nurses got paid a shitload more during last year? Do you believe that nurses got adequate help?
I believe
you're taking a stance that they got screwed.
Their pay probably went up the same amount as inflation.
Do you believe that they got screwed?
They
because
absolutely
of COVID.
Got screwed.
So then why are you disagreeing with me? Because I'm saying they were doing this action and they were seen as patriots. They were seen as heroes. So like that's all I'm saying. Yeah,
but that didn't motivate more people. But what you're saying? No. That's not all you're saying.
So wouldn't you have less nurses?
Is it motivated more people?
You have less nurses?
I'm not trying to nitpick you, but I am nitpicking you right now.
Captain, what Wiggly is saying is that
I get what Wiggly is saying.
If it weren't for patriotism, do you think all these nurses would have crossed state lines just to help fellow Americans, or do you think they probably wouldn't have? Like, how many nurses went to?
Oh my God!
I don't think that's true. How many of our nurses went to Mexico or Canada?
Well, that's because there's a pandemic all around the world. So there's people needed here. But when a earthquake happens somewhere around the world, people rush from all over to go there. That is what happens. Like, I don't know if you guys know that, but there's people who are dedicated, who dedicate their lives to flying around the world and fucking helping these people. Like they like we send, or we'll send, like California will send an elite team of firefighters to go fight a fire in some fucking place. You know what I mean? When we're not fighting our own
The
fires.
amount that they
But,
don't
like,
get paid, that they get in prestige,
and I agree.
you can attribute to the nation. It's not that hard. It's not like I'm trying to explain
Okay.
it as simply as possible. Is that you
but
can
it
get
doesn't
people
seem to
work
motivate-
more. And you get
but,
people to work more by taking some concept and then adding that concept to whatever the work they're doing, so they believe. It's like the simple example of like outside of nurses, because I guess it's complicated. It's like you're a retail worker. They tell you we're family, and they describe like the family structure, and like here in this mom and pop shop, we're a family. And then like last time I checked, my parents didn't make me like work on holidays. That's the idea, is that they get you to think of this concept with your job, and you're not getting paid so much more, but you think that it means something because you think of this idea, this construct like a family, and that gets you to do more for less.
So
That's it.
I think it's,
I just think you could do that all without patriotism. You could do
you
all
can.
that.
No, he
Wait,
and
just
have
admitted
your
that.
motivation
You
not
can't.
to
He
do
just
it.
admitted that.
You can't.
Yeah, he's talked about the story. That's what he meant. But okay. Pan, like we went over. Wow, what a tangent. But I want to get back to you. You were talking about the negative consequences. We shouldn't encourage people to break the law due to the negative consequences, right? Okay. Kick it to like a leftist best example of these types of things, right? The civil rights movement. Okay, civil rights movement happens, and people are breaking the law. There are the lunch counters. Can't go to lunch counters because you don't got the right skin color, right? The consequences for that could be severe. So there's arrest, right? But you are literally hoping for arrest because the crowd could get very violent. The crowd could literally attack you and string you up, right? Because that's the thing that they did, right? So like consequences could be lynching, could be death. Oh, also rape, right? Rape, assault, the whole litany of things, right? Up until death. So do you think that? So then, if you were alive back then, you might have. I don't know how old you are. But if you were alive back then, do you think you would be like, well, I don't want to encourage people to break the law? I mean,
Well, what
could
no,
happen?
so what I'm saying is that I think it's okay to force that responsibility on yourself, right? Like I think it's morally good, and like you probably should. I would hope that if I was alive back then and had like the means, I would partake and was, I guess, black, because it's probably less dangerous for white people. I don't know as much, but regardless, I think
kill lots of
I
white
hope.
people. So just saying.
Okay, well then I'd hope I'd participate, right, despite the risks. However, I wouldn't hope that I would try to force that onto other people. I hope that I wouldn't be the person telling other people, hey, yeah, you need to go do this because it's what's moral and it's what's right, and putting them into harm's way. I don't want to. I think it's good if you're going to be going into harm's way to do this, but I don't think it's fair to demand that other people do it for you, basically, if that makes sense.
Like when you see somebody, like let's say during that time period, or you heard of somebody, you hear stories of people, and you hear about like let's say people who didn't do anything, who lived during that time period and didn't do anything. They didn't help anybody. They just did the status quo. And you hear this term like perhaps like being on the right side of history. It feels good to be on the right side of history, to be the person who did something back then. People look at Bernie Sanders and they say, hurrah, this guy was on the right side of history. They look at certain people and they get some clout later on in their life. Like, why can't we market that to people in the here and now? Because that's also like an idea. You say, we already do. And like, but like, why can't we do it more? You say, listen, this is some chance for you to be on the right side of history. When you go and tell your kids or you tell people in the future, think of that feeling you felt. Looking at some of those pictures and being like, I can't believe America did that to people, or I can't believe, these things happened. Wouldn't you
Yeah.
want to be on the right side of history? You're going to be alive, 30 years from now or whatever, and you're going to look at that. And then you can sell that to people. And then you could sell that and go deeper than what you were saying, because what you're saying is true. There is risk, but you can get people to do more. You can say, think about what you're going to tell your kids. Wouldn't you want to do the most now so you have the best stories later? So you can say, I did all of these things. Wouldn't you want to go to all these protests to do all of that? And then,
Or you could die and not have kids, though.
Yeah, so that's why I think like
Well, that's an
there's
important part to mention, right? Like,
but
you don't want to,
that's
you don't
why
want to
that
be
there's
feeding them this glorious future and like downplaying the risks of like them
but
dying
the,
because of
but
it,
that
right? Like,
but
you don't
that's
want to be misleading people into fighting a fight for you.
Hold on.
but
Oh man.
here's the thing though, like
Wiggle, you go first, and then I gotta yell at Pan.
I'm fine 100%. I'm fine with other people suffering for something they care about so that I can get the thing that I want in the end as long as that's what they care about. So it's like the idea of like the government. First and foremost, our government. Our government, if they're arguing all the time, they're screaming at each other, etc. I'm not screaming there with them. I'm eating food and I'm on this panel. And yet I get the benefits of whatever they're arguing about. And it's kind of like that. It's the idea of like if there's people out there and some of them die, other people like they do all this work, they protest, what have you. You want to compel me to do the things they do. But in the end, I'm a freeloader and I'm going to get the benefits of those systems. I'm going to sit at home. I'm going to be on this panel. I'm going to play my little PC games. I'm going to order my food and eat. I'm going to be like, oh, look, New York legalized weed. You know, like I'm going to be like, oh, look, you know, all these things happen. So the point I would say is that you want to get people like me to join these efforts, what have you. But at the same time, you still need somebody there at the front lines. You still need those people that are willing to care and put their lives at risk and do all of that. So you should make messages for those people because they're doing the worst. Those people are doing the worst. So you want to, you want to have this level of bringing people out of their homes and telling them that this is the most important thing possible. Climate change. In 20 years, you won't even have an island. You won't even have Miami to get them to act while the other people stay at home so that we can get change.
So, Pan, you can respond to that. Then I also want to yell at you for something.
I get that, right? And I'm not saying that if it's an issue you care about, you shouldn't commit civil disobedience, right? I believe in civil disobedience and stuff. I'm saying, I feel like I've said this a lot, right?
Yeah.
All of this stuff is really good for people to do, right? But we shouldn't be
encouraging people to commit harm against themselves or potentially face harm to themselves.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can like not discourage them. I'm not saying you go up to I'm not saying you should go up to civil rights protesters and tell them, hey, are you guys sure you want to do this? I mean, it could be really dangerous. You could die. I mean, if I were you, I'd go home right now, right? Like, I'm not arguing that we do that, but I'm arguing that if you tell someone to do, you probably shouldn't tell someone to do something dangerous for a cause that you care about if you're not willing to do it yourself. If you're not willing to have skin in your game and you're going to, sit back and eat food the whole time while they go out and risk their lives, I don't think that's an okay thing to do.
It isn't.
Wait, why would I cross the border, though? I'm an American citizen. I'm already over here. I live in the greatest country on earth. I would never need to do that.
That's not exactly what I meant, but
yeah, I would agree with you. It isn't like the morally the righteous thing to do. It's just one of those things that it is practical, and so therefore it's one of those morally bad things that most people do, and I definitely do, because I definitely will let other people fight for me for things that I care about if it's easier for me, simply because them people doing it already. Like those people already doing that shit. Like what is another number? It's the idea. I live in New York, for example, right? People are already gonna vote blue, no matter who, for the last election. So what I looked at is I looked at a list of people and I said, you know, I'm gonna pick one of these third party people so that I at least do something. And I did that because there's already I'm a freeloader. There's already people that are gonna vote for the person that I was gonna vote for, so I might as well do something else with my vote that's more important. And I think like people already do this all the time. They already like think in these ways, and I think this is that critical thinking element of like, all right, taking this chance, right? Taking this chance and saying, hey, I'm going to do something that's in my best interest, where I do the least amount and get the most gain from it, because that's how most people think. When the people talk about the rational thinker, the most rational people are people that are thinking about things in their own best interest, and they're utilizing people in this very same way. And if you don't think that way, you're going to be the person used. You are not going to be the CEO. You're going to be the person at the bottom. You're going to be the person that's used. And those are the people our societies turn out. As long as you live in societies like the United States, what have you, the most successful people are going to be churned out to be that way. You're going to have Alec Baldwin crying and pretending he didn't know he shot someone on the screen, and then he's living a much lavish life compared to you or I. You're going to have like Joe Biden, who can probably barely wake up in the morning, and he's our president of the United States. You're going to have individuals like that at the top. And then we're going to be the people saying, oh, like the things that you're saying, perhaps, or like you shouldn't do something unless you have the ability to do it yourself, or you shouldn't advocate for things. No, I say like you want to think more practically and open it up to things like Tiberius was mentioning earlier, the idea of like practicality, and maybe think about it in more like realpolitik. Think about it more in the sense of pragmatism. Think of more in the sense of like, what are people going to do? Like, if everybody was like if everybody was this conscientious individual who was always thinking about others, we'd be in a more faith-based society today. You'd have more people going to churches, more people going to mosques, etc. You would have a society that was more community-oriented, and they wouldn't be sitting in their homes doing things for themselves, settling in their own greed. They wouldn't have computers like mine, but everyone on the street would have better computers. I think it's more important to think realistically.
I agree, but if we have this rule and like we implicate it or implement it in every single scenario, it can lead to some kind of dangerous outcomes. Like, would it be okay to, like, let's say we were, at war, right? Would it be okay to go around telling a whole bunch of other people that they should enlist while you aren't willing to enlist yourself, signing other people up for risk that you're not willing to take? I feel like
if you want to win that war, but you want to not go to war, yes.
That's the job of recruiters. You're literally telling somebody whose job it is, like, no, don't do your job. That's a literal job, dude. You're laughing, but that's literally like every company I've worked for has recruiters. They have a recruiting office. Like, come on, dude.
Well, I mean, you can be a recruiter and have done something. Aren't generally military recruiters former military people?
They are military.
I don't know shit about.
Oh yeah,
they're literally in military.
I'm not saying. Look, if you're walking the walk, I'm not saying you shouldn't ask people to join you. Like, I don't think it's wrong for MLK to ask for people to come sit in with him, right? Like, obviously, he knows the risks because he partook in
this stinks. This stinks of the same thing when somebody will be like, look, if you haven't served, then you can't talk about military stuff or things like that. You can't talk about foreign policy if you haven't served and if you're not willing to put your life on the line. Like, yeah, I can, dude. Fuck off. I can talk about foreign policy and I can advocate for these things, actually.
It's not like that at all. I'm saying,
well, it smells of it. It just, I'm getting a whiff of something. And that's what it smells like.
I'm a little lost in how we got to that point.
But this is exciting.
It is? Are you sure?
We wrapped around. we wrapped around back to where I was thinking before. This thing about like telling people, like demanding people do something for you, right? Going back to the immigration one because it's the easiest example. Who is demanding that immigrants break the law, right? I'm encouraging that if they need it to do so, then they should, right? I'm not saying that. Well, it's not like it's not a situation where I wouldn't take the risk. Look, if the U.S. living here became untenable for whatever reason, right? And Canada is telling us to fuck off. Well, guess what? I'm going to break Canada's law. I'm telling you right now, I'm going to break Canada's laws. I'm going to get over there. I'm going to take my family with me. I'm going to get over it in Canada any way that I can, right? Like, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't anyone else do that? But like that, but
it's Canada.
Yeah, well, fair enough. But like you're like drawing some sort of distinction that I don't understand.
Well, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Like the distinction.
You're saying
what? No, go ahead. Like I'm trying to understand what you're saying.
You're saying that it has to be, or you're saying. You're making it sound as if what we're talking about is demanding a person do something, right? Demanding a person encouraging them to break the law and like hiding behind something else, like that has no like it's.
No, I feel like demanding is too strong of a word. I'm not saying.
Well, you said demand before.
Okay, well maybe let me use a different word, like saying it would be wrong not to and stuff, because I've heard that's specifically what Wiggly said.
That was right.
He said
it's not.
Oh well, I mean that's mostly who I'm talking to when I'm talking here, because that's what I really disagree with. Like, if you want to encourage people to do something, and like immigration, like obviously I'm not expecting you to like go to Mexico and illegally cross the U.S. border in order for you to advocate for this.
Yeah, but like,
I'm just saying that you should be careful, and you need to be careful recommending people do dangerous things that you haven't done because you don't know all the risks, and you could get them in a lot of trouble in hot water by recommending them do stuff. Like, I think a more clear example of kind of what I'm thinking about is the gun confiscation situation, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
So a lot of people on the right are like, yeah, if someone comes to confiscate your guns, if the ATF comes to confiscate your guns, you should, fight them and stuff. And I mean, that's good and all to say, but if you do that, you're probably gonna die, right? Like, they're gonna keep sending ATF people after you until you die. And if the person telling you to do all that stuff and is kind of encouraging you to do all that stuff and building up and like saying, oh yeah, everyone's can do that, and you're encouraging them to do that and saying, hey,
I'm gonna give you
it's
a
not
crazy
moral if you do that.
scenario. All right, think about this.
I don't
Before you
think
do
it's a
that,
crazy scenario.
before you do that, I just want to follow this up because I keep like, yeah. So okay. So you're bringing up the gun situation. I think it's interesting what you're saying, but where I was going originally, way back when, right, like an hour ago, where I was going originally when you guys asked me, was like, it matters what the consequences are. So again, why break U.S. immigration law to get to the States, right? Well, you do
There's a bunch
that.
of reasons.
Yeah, there are many reasons, right? Yeah, but you do that because one, your physical life is in danger, right? Or your economic prospects are so dismal that you might as well be like in physical danger, right? Like that people.
Well,
do
no,
these
there's going to
things,
be
right?
marginal cases, right? Not every case is going to be that extreme.
I didn't. Okay, yes, there are other
No,
reasons.
I get that,
I
but, like,
agree, but I
mean,
just
if
gave
you're
you
telling
examples.
people, but if you're telling people, like, you don't need to encourage people who are in death situation to illegally immigrate, because they're going to do it anyway. They're facing death. Of course they are. The only people that this affects is the marginal cases where they're not sure because their situation isn't necessarily that bad, right? Like, the people who are like refugees fleeing from war-torn countries, they're coming over, right? They're going to risk everything because their situation is so dire. You're encouraging, people encouraging them to do stuff doesn't really matter because they have to. They're basically forced to. But the only people you're going to affect with this encouragement is these marginal cases where things aren't quite as clear.
Okay, all right. So, okay, we've established that people are going to come over no matter what. All right, fair enough. Okay, so then let's talk about those marginal cases. I think even then, like, if they have decided that this is worth it, right? Like, it's up to them, those individual people, to make the decision any which way, right? That is the type of person that, if that was the type of person we're talking to, and we have laws that are in themselves unjust, like an immigration system that's purposely like baroque, right? Purposefully built in a way that makes it difficult for others to reach here, the legal manner. Like, people say, get in line, right? And then like the line is like 10 years or something, right? Like in some of these cases, like it's a crazy amount. And then there's all kinds of ways in that, as you're going through this line, right? It's not a straight line. It's not like something you simply sit there and simply wait. No, you're actively like working with, like, I guess, the State Department, I don't know, to get over here, right? And there's all kinds of pitfalls, traps they build into the system so that you will fail. So rather than dealing with that system, and you're thinking that it's worth it, right? Even if it's marginal, your case is marginal, then yeah, they should break the law. Why not? I mean, other than
I mean, you're stipulating that it's worth it, which is kind of like defeating the point, right? Like, obviously, if you expect to gain net utility, you're going to do something, right? Like, if you expect your life's going to be better, and you even when you account for the risks, obviously you're going to do it.
Well, I mean, who else will we be encouraging but people who want to do it, right? And who like are unsure of themselves? Who else would we be encouraging?
So, if this would you we're assuming that encouragement is going to be a driving force to get them to do something, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't be encouraging them. Like, that's the entire point of encouragement.
I mean,
yeah,
like,
I agree.
If you say that it's not, then encouraging does nothing, and this whole conversation is moot. So you can't really say that it's not. If that's a fact, okay.
Okay, well, no, you go ahead.
If that's a factor, then it might be pushing people. Like, let's say their odds they were thinking, is this worth it? 49, it's not worth it. 51, it is worth. Or sorry, 51, it's not. 51, it's not worth it. 49, it is worth it. And the encouragement pushes it over the two. Mm-hmm. So now it's 51, 49 the other way. well, now you're putting them in a situation where they're more likely to not get the outcome that they they're going to act against the way that they would have otherwise.
I guess I'm like separating the utility from the actual decision making, right? So like they will get a positive utility. Those are the people we're talking to, right? And then they're just like deciding whether they'll actually do it or not, right? And yeah, the encouragement would help in that case, I guess, right? And if that's the case, then yeah, like if they're going to get a positive utility, and the reason why they're not getting that utility is because of these unjust laws, well, then break them.
No, but what I'm saying is they expect a very slightly negative utility. Okay, so like they think it's at the moment they think it's probably not worth it to come over, but your encouragement is enough to push them over that line. To make them to come over.
No. Okay, I guess maybe we're just like conceptualizing this differently. Like
you're just extremely influential, Prime. That's what you're not getting.
Well, yeah, okay. No, it doesn't just have to be a single person.
The positive utility, like there are plenty of people around the world who would love to come to the U.S., right? But like they don't for various reasons, right? They can understand that it would make their theoretically, that their lives would vastly improve if they actually managed to get here, right? And so, like that's the pool of individuals, right? The people who have negative utility, who thinks that like coming here might make their lives worse, right? Well, they're not going to bother. Like they don't care. Like I'm talking about. I don't know. I don't want to confuse the conversation. But and then there's the decision-making process. Am I going to actually do this? Because it all comes at a cost, right? So that decision-making process, if it's the difference between, well, like I'm breaking the law and I'm not breaking the law, or I'm breaking the law, or I stay here and do whatever, right, and try to make the best of it, and we can as a society, right, or at least as activists, say that no, you should do this. You should do it because like we want to welcome you here, even though our laws say otherwise. Then those are the people that we will be targeting. Sorry, I got it a little lost there. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So I think maybe I have another way of going about this to try to make the point I'm trying to make. And instead of using hypotheticals, we can use like the real world.
Okay.
I would say that some Democrat rhetoric encourages people to come, more people to illegally immigrate. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing inherently, right? Like, because again, I'm in full support of illegal immigrants. However, if the results of that, if there's no substantial policy change, the only thing that we end up with by encouraging more people to immigrate is more people in detainment ICE centers. And that's the thing I want to avoid.
That's not true. I mean, what people? That's
what's happening right now. We have so many more people.
Some people are true, but when some people actually do make it in, right? They go through that process. They sneak into the country and they make it in, or they like overstay their visas, right? For instance, that's the way a lot of people do it, right? They overstay the visa.
Yeah, that's most.
Right? Okay. So they're overstaying their visa. That is breaking the law, right? And I'm fine with that. I'm encouraging that. That's okay. Like do that.
Okay, so if you want to say, okay, that has no risk though. Like, yeah, if you want, if you're encouraging,
of course it does.
Okay, well, when I say encouraging people to become illegal immigrants, I'm thinking about encouraging them to cross borders. I'm not thinking of encouraging them to just stay after their visa expires. If that's what you mean by encouraging people to be illegal immigrants, then that's fine. Like, I don't think that's
all of it.
Particularly dangerous.
I mean all of it.
Well, okay, well then we can talk about the cases of people crossing the border. We don't need to go to the cases of, people overstaying their visas, because that's not the type of case that we're worried about, right?
Well, hold on, no, of course we are. Like, there is a risk to overstaying your visa. If there was no risk, then almost everyone who wanted to be here would do that, right?
I mean, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens if ICE finds out you overstayed the visa?
I imagine they deport you. I'm not an immigration.
They would detain you the same way they detain people who cross the border, right?
Right, but you're already here, so.
So yeah,
that's the worst case that could happen. And
detain you for deportation, but I'm saying the detainment part is actually really sucks. It's terrible, as we understand.
Yeah,
right?
I guess.
So yeah, like that risk is not quite the same, but like there's that risk there as well. And I'm saying, sure, break the law.
I'm not saying anything with any risk is bad.
Okay.
I'm saying we shouldn't distort risk signals. We shouldn't signal to people that something is less risky than it is. In a way, I think that's
No one
kind
is
of what
doing that.
encouragement.
No one's
Well, I feel
doing
like that's
that.
kind of what encouraging does, because we've agreed that it gets them more likely. Okay, does the fact that somebody's encouraging you, is that going to change your expected net utility for an action?
My
Depends on the
expected net.
action.
Like let's say you're climbing up a tree to get an apple off the tree. Okay.
Okay.
Is Captain A. Jones sitting there saying, "Let's go Prime" or "Let's go Prime"?
Let's go Prime.
Right, but does that like really increase your
Does it change the fact
ability
that
to
I
get the
could
apple?
fall and hurt? Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Right. Well, it doesn't change that, but it might encourage
Doesn't
you
change
more to
gravity,
keep
no.
going. Right. It doesn't change gravity, but you're more likely to keep going with Prime there cheering you on than otherwise, right? If you're there on your own, you'll just be like, well, you know, maybe this is a bit too risky. But if Jones
But
is
this
there
is-
saying, "Let's go Prime,"
So, but this goes back to why I was saying, like, this is not a decision. This isn't like picking one candy bar over another candy bar at the store, and Prime's like, no, get the Twix. Get the Twix. I'm like, no, but I really want the Reese's. No, this is like life or death. This is you like Tiberius was saying. This is your home. You are leaving your home. For many people, this is huge. This is like the you're uprooting, you know, your family, where you live, etc. Like, I'm just saying, this is not
So-
you're I think creating a false narrative.
Spice it up a bit. Imagine there's multiple routes to get into the country you desire, and they all have varying risk, and the one that has the least risk is more expensive. And then the whole hypothetical is you're both from that other country, and then somebody's convincing you to take the path that's more risky because it's a lot cheaper, and then that person's encouraging to go into this other country, spend less money, and take the riskier path. And they say, do it. It can't be that bad. You know, it can't be that bad. And think of all the money you're saving. You know, you're going to start a new life in this new country, and then you're going to have like all this money you have saved. Why would you spend more money? Yeah, the other path is, you know, safer, but they're fleecing you. They know that it's safe, and so they're charging way too much. And what if it's in that perspective? Would you view it the same way as like problematic pen? Would you say like that person is like they haven't experienced it themselves, and they're putting you through a riskier scenario, encouraging you to do something they didn't do, which could lead to like some problems for you, based on their own advice? Would that be bad or good? What?
I don't know. I was thinking about Twix, but so no, I lost you about halfway through there, and I honestly,
I hate to say this, but I've been so lost for the last 20 minutes. I started paying
Thank you.
bills.
Should we encourage people, right? So that now what's happening now in certain states is that they are restricting abortion for many, to the point where it's completely inaccessible. All right, so let's say, and it's going to the Supreme Court. Let's say the Supreme Court comes back, says, you know, Roe v. Wade, it's a thing of the past. We're done with that, right? We're going pre-Roe v. Wade, and like there's simply no abortion. Actually, I don't know what pre-Roe v. Wade exactly look like, but still,
It goes back to the states.
Yeah.
Well, let's just
It goes back to the states, and in your state, it is illegal. Okay, right? Should we encourage pregnant women who need the service to break the law?
Yes, everybody who needs an abortion should be able to get one where they fucking are. But if they are close to, if it's convenient, if this is the most convenient option, please come to California.
Okay, well,
yes.
for the
No,
point
that's
of
not- that's not
hypothetical,
breaking the law.
let's just say everybody. Let's just say everywhere. Like Roe v. Wade is overturned and abortion's illegal everywhere. Like, does that make it better, Captain Jones? Like, we don't have to say like go to California. Now, I would say that
You know how to moving the
it
fuck out of this
depends,
country
right?
at that
It
rate.
depends on how dangerous these illegal abortions are. If these illegal abortions have, like, it, you know, back alley coat hanger abortions, I'd say. I mean, I don't know what I'd say. If I'd have to think about it, right? Because if the risks to them are going to be severe, it's not like if breaking the law just means going to an illegal but still very safe abortion clinic, then yeah, I'd encourage them to break the law. But if it means going into the back alley with a coat hanger and poking around and hoping, you know, the fetus comes out, I probably would not recommend that they do that. I probably wouldn't recommend that they try to do the abortion themselves. Like, if that makes sense.
No, it does. So when I'm thinking of like finding doctors, right? Who will still perform the action, right? Like, but still there is a consequence beyond that, right? Like there is a consequences of getting caught. Whatever it is the states come up with, there's a consequence, right? So like with that consequences and the stipulation that it's relatively safe, as well as safe as it is currently today, what would you encourage?
If I could like point them in a good direction, like if I knew a guy, maybe if I could do something that would like improve their chances of doing it, I would encourage them. On its own, I probably would be neutral. I wouldn't encourage or discourage them. I would
Why?
understand. Well, I'd understand what they're doing because I don't know 100% their situation. Like if I know I can improve it by saying, "Hey, I know this doctor who does abortions, and he's really good on the down low. You're not going to get caught. He's really like I don't know. He's really good, really safe. Blah blah blah." Then yeah, I would. But like, I don't want to affect someone's decision making process of something I know nothing about. If like for example, I've never had an abortion. I know, crazy. So and I don't know any abortion doctors. If women, if someone I knew was asking people around like, oh, I need an abortion. Do you know any doctors? I wouldn't just bullshit and say,
We're not adding those variables though. Like you're adding a lot of variables here.
I feel like I'm not trying to add the variables. I'm trying to say something like kind of analogous, right? If I don't know the situation, I don't want to give as much advice to it. So unless I can like materially help them,
you're focusing on an individual, right? Just like in general, right? There are women who need these services. Do you agree let's start there. Do you agree that there are women who would need reproductive services, including abortion?
I mean, obviously, yeah.
Okay, great. No. Well, you might not agree on that. Maybe not. But okay, great. So you agree that they need it. Okay, so then in general, right? Would you support a campaign like a political activist campaign that is saying yes, like would you give money to a campaign that is saying yes, like break the law and here are resources, we're going to provide you resources, right? So it's a general outcall, right?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so you would do that. Why though? Like because those women could end up in jail. So let's do it like in South America. Let's do it like in South America. In South America, if you try to get in certain places in South America, if you try to get an abortion, then or your baby miscarries, right? Then you can face like life imprisonment. Right?
Jesus.
Yeah, it's fucking
well, the way that you framed it, I'm assuming my money.
God, all right. Cool.
What I'm assuming, like from the way that you framed it, right, is that my money will increase their capability and will improve the chance that they don't get hurt and stuff, and can't have that much of a negative effect.
No.
Like if I'm advocating for a cause and that cause is helping people get illegal abortions and increasing the ability of them to not get caught, right?
I don't know why you're talking about this I mean, sure. I mean, I guess. But the point is that like you're encouraging people to take the risk, right? And you can't eliminate the risk. There's no way to eliminate. Okay. And so, but you're saying, okay, that's fine.
Not affecting, okay. But you're not like affecting like risk signals, if that makes any sense, right? Like all that's happening is you're improving their opportunities, right? You're not making it riskier, you're making it less risky by supporting this cause.
I mean, that's not how I'm conceptualizing this. I'm saying that you're like you're encouraging them, right? And like, hey, everyone, if you need these things, I forget them providing resources. Just hey, like this is unjust law. We encourage you to break it if you need to, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, if
you're not at all
you're having seizures,
I'm not
lowering the risk.
If you're having seizures,
I would I'd be okay with other people doing it. I probably wouldn't. I don't know enough about this stuff. I don't know about the risks. Maybe if what you're saying is,
well, what do you know about Pan? Okay,
I'm sorry, I don't know about illegal abortion. Okay, I don't know much about getting an abortion, Jones. I apologize.
Yeah.
If in this hypothetical situation, you shouldn't come to me, right? My encouragement
I agree. I know. I agree
shouldn't
on
matter
that.
in this situation. Okay, yeah. No one on this panel. Right?
Tiberius.
What's
you
up,
answer
buddy?
the question. Well, like
Yeah. So look, I'm probably the most pro-life and conservative person on this panel by
Let's
far.
assume
but
you're pro-choice.
well, actually, I am. But anyway, outside of that, is that even all that considered, is the answer is yes. If you need an abortion, I'm putting the characterization of need is that you're probably going to die if you don't have an abortion. The answer is you do it. Because what kind of life is that where you're just going to off yourself, or excuse me, not off yourself, but you're forced to off yourself because you can't have that service? Like, I mean, there is no end. Or, I'm sorry, that is the end. There is no options. At least if you're alive, you know, you might be arrested, you might not be, you might have all these situations come on you, you complications from the abortion itself. But for me, it's a very easy choice. If you choose to live, you have options. But if you choose to die, you don't.
So I guess one of the things I did was I framed it as like in previously in immigration talk, right? I framed it as well. It's life or death, or you know, you have those economic considerations that it might as well be life or death, right? Okay, but I think the laws are unjust in and of themselves. So
okay,
so even if their lives were perfect there and they wanted to come here, right? Then I would say break the law. Because the law is unjust. So in terms of a woman who is having an abortion, that she isn't going to die otherwise, right? She can make it out alive, and maybe even take care of the child herself, right? So would you encourage? But you think the law is unjust?
So yeah. So we're going with it's not needed. It's and the law is unjust. There's a level where I kind of want to pick on you a little bit here, and like this seems to be in some way contrarian, where it's just like I'm going to do it just to do it. Like for me, there's got to be like a modus operandi here, or there's got to be a calculus here where if I'm going to do something and I have to face a consequence for it, that it serves a greater end, it serves some kind of greater purpose. You know, when we talk about the immigration thing, is that if somebody's going to pack up their shit and leave, you know, and I'm not trying to like relay the conversation, they're going to want to break the law because it's worth it and it's in their interest to do so. But if somebody's just like, no, I'm fine here, I don't need to go to the United States, why the fine fuck are they actually going to do that? So for me, like just exploring the mentality of, you know, am I going to do it just to do it? I think the answer is going to be a ubiquitous no. So if that's not what you're asking, I'm sorry, but that's where I'm at.
Well, okay. So going back to the abortion thing for a second, right? Like there are women who have the means to take care of a child, and they don't want to have a child, right?
Okay.
Like they can survive. Their bodies can handle it. They can survive, but they just don't want to have a child, right? And that seems like a good enough reason, right? Like, because it's not just having the child, right? There's 18 years of taking care of that child, right? Like having responsibility for that kid, right? Now you could say, well, there's also adoption, but like then it's a dice roll for that child, and you don't want like the mental and emotional toll of having some child out there.
Sell the kid. Why would you ever give up a kid for adoption when you could perhaps be in a position where you could find somebody that wants your child and pay you like $60,000? There's people out there that will give you a great amount of money.
Or just let the market decide how much babies are worth. It's so simple.
Like if you like, oh, it's all this strain, all this crazy strain on my body, etc. It's like, just remember there's that option. Like, why would you give it up for adoption when like you can find the family, know who they are, like have them part of the process, and then just sell it, like sell it.
Why would you? Yeah, I don't know.
Why did you do this?
Come on, that's like giving a dog to shelter instead of like selling it to somebody you know who's gonna give you like mad money when you can't take care of it. Like it's.
I mean, he's not wrong.
Thank you.
Oh my God! Stop. Okay, like when you said sell a person, you completely lost me because the last time I checked, that just makes them slaves.
Well, so it's like you guys have never seen Juno before. Come on.
Wait, no, people buy like babies from adoption all the time. They might as well be paying me instead of the middleman, the adoption agency.
True.
Okay, I get you. Okay.
Right? It's not like they're. It's not like it's probably.
You're not selling them into
Yeah, they're not.
Okay,
haggling
well,
about
okay,
your
And you're
body.
not selling them into servitude. You know, you're
Yeah.
just you say it's a baby, and now it's going to grow up in a family. There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess I went a way too dimmer with that apparently. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we're advocating selling them like on the black
yeah,
market.
that's why I pulled an
Now
error
we're in-
404 there. All right.
Look, I'm very liberal. Okay, I think markets can solve damn near
Yeah, man.
everything, and this is just another example of it.
Think about it
Agreed.
this way, you're more on
Alright.
the right side, right? Like, no tax.
Motherfucker, shut up, dude.
That's
All right,
why.
fine.
That's why when you sell your babies, make sure to get paid in cash.
Mm.
You know,
Oh
you can
my
hide that money from the IRS
God,
easy
why are
peasy.
you
You want to
doing
meet up at a bank or at a
So,
police station?
Prime, you had a real you had a question there that like Wiggle completely derailed. And don't get me wrong, if like no one wants to have the abortion conversation, I'm 110% behind that.
It's kind of like this, man. Like, if you're in one of those positions, right? Don't like you ideally want to make like decisions when you're as rational as possible. And if you just make it harder and harder for somebody, right? They're gonna be less and less rational when they actually like come to the point where they feel they have to make a decision. So for something like that, like yeah, they're gonna figure out some way to make it make sense to them. People are gonna like rationalize it in their mind no matter what. The same way you could be like on an island and they give the examples of like only one of you guys can survive. At some point you're gonna rationalize why you had to do what you had to do. So if you feel like you have to terminate the pregnancy or what have you, and you really feel that way, like you're gonna rationalize however in your head that you're gonna have to do this eventually. So like I mean I'd rather have that negotiation with the person right from the beginning than like if you're the state than like all the way at the very end. So it's like you'd want to probably have like some way for people to terminate pregnancies earlier on, because if not, they're gonna be less rational later, and there's gonna be more irrational acts that are gonna take place.
Okay. No, you just
That
have
was
to.
Hashtag ban Wiggle.
I think I figured it out. Prime. Would you say that peer pressure inhibits decision making?
Inhibits decision making.
Yeah, it's harder to make. It's harder to make a rational decision that's in your personal best interest when there are other people who know nothing about your situation, sending signals left and right about what you should or shouldn't do.
Prime, stop peer pressuring immigrants into crossing the border. Jesus
Yeah,
fucking Christ, dude. What is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Seriously,
I mean,
take a look in the mirror, okay, buddy?
I mean,
I know.
you say that
Sure, no,
jokingly, but I feel like there's
bite.
actually something there.
I don't know. I was memeing.
I'll bite.
But
like,
I think
sure.
it's memey.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay then.
That's like when you're like you have that.
But that's okay. I bit because I thought you were going to take it somewhere. Like that actually made sense. Obviously, I'm not peer pressuring them. Obviously, I have no social power over them. How would I do that?
Well, if you have no social power, then your encouragement does nothing.
No, that's bullshit. That's bullshit.
No, that's not bullshit.
It really
That's
is.
not
That's
bullshit.
terrible.
We're talking to the audience,
That's
dude.
literally what encouragement is.
That's
It's
That's
like,
not encouragement. Everyone, we just learned something here.
wait, is my encouragement?
is not just a Venn diagram, right? Like it's just like circles overlapping circles. Encouragement is peer pressure, right? Parents out there, have you ever encouraged your child, right?
Wait, so
to
would you say
strive
just
to like
passive
get those
consent?
straight A's? You're peer pressuring them. That's what that
He's
is,
talking about
right?
the utility of it. He's
If
talking
you're
about the
no. Encouragement is not peer pressure. Those aren't the same thing.
No,
right?
he's saying like the utility of encouraging someone. What is the utility of it if it's not gonna have any effect? So like if it's not gonna have any effect, why does it even matter? Then in that case, always do it if it's good.
You're right. Life really doesn't matter. We're actually just like
That is
like
not
these
at all
like
what we're doing.
sand pebble floating through space.
I'm sorry,
and
Socrates.
these
Let's
other we're
bring it
just
back
so
to reality.
insignificant. Nothing we do or say
Oh my
matters. I mean, if you're not
No, but
willing
that's
to
not what
do
we're
it
saying,
yourself,
Jones.
if you're not willing to cross that
No.
border your goddamn self, okay, then you really shouldn't even fucking talk.
It's like this. If somebody is never if you think somebody should go to college for whatever reason, and you're like, they're never actually gonna go to college. You know this 100%. Like encouraging that person to go to college is not gonna have any utility in the end to that person. They're not going to actually do this. Maybe for you it might mean something. So maybe for you you'll still encourage them because other people are around watching you, or it makes you feel good. But in the end, like if you know that person's not going to do something or there's no practical effect of it, then like why even talk about it? You know, he's just
But
saying
that's
that
not
if it doesn't
okay.
have any effect,
Peer
what is
pressure.
But we're not. But
Peer-
are we
Right.
talking to immigrants? If you're in the chat right now and you're an immigrant and you're thinking about immigrating to the United States, okay, please say something because I need to know: are we actually influencing you right
First,
now? This is
first and foremost,
important data.
I
all
hear what
right.
you're
they would be
saying.
citizens of the country they're in,
Uh,
and then they might immigrate to the
oh,
United
yeah,
States.
fair
They
enough.
wouldn't be like, I'm talking to immigrant classes. Everybody who's not American.
Fair. Okay, if you're shut up, Wiggle. I swear to God. I swear to God. This is why I'm gonna nitpick you. All right.
Okay.
All
Okay. No,
Oh.
I hear what you're trying to say. That like if your words have no weight to them whatsoever, then there's no point in saying them to begin with, right? Like
That's what
if
you
I
meant.
was
Yeah,
like if
go
I
for it.
was in like if I in my room, camera turned off, right? Was encouraging that oil companies like stop drilling in Alaska, right? Like that would have no weight, right? Like no one's hearing me. And even if they did hear me, like oil companies don't give a shit, right? So what difference does it make if I keep saying it, right? Okay. Even then. Okay, but still, okay. I hear what you're saying. That your words need to have a certain weight, right? The thing I quibble with, and I'm gonna fight you on, is that encouragement that has that weight, right? Weighted encouragement equals peer pressure. Those two things are not the same, right? Like peer pressure is like a toxic a form of this. Peer pressure um, is like in I'm trying to think of a good place to draw this line. Get back to me on this one. I want to think on this. So I have a good answer for you.
I mean, they're just different words for a reason. There's peer pressure and there's encouragement. I mean, like, and if you're encouraging somebody who's like, oh my God, uh, you know, uh, in my country, fucking economic mobility is really horrible. I have zero opportunities to move up. I'm literally going to be working X shit job for the rest of my life, and I have no like chance of moving up in the world. I'd be like, and they're like, should I make the trek to the United States? I'm thinking about, like taking a pack and getting across the border, dude. Like, what I'd probably be like, yeah, I mean, fuck, if that's your only way, then that's what you got to do. If that's the calculation you're making with your life, sure, this person's life is not in imminent danger, uh, and sure, the issue that they're facing is an economic one, so arguably, not like that big of a deal
So
if you really want to go there, but I think that's a huge deal.
So I think I'm finding the line that I'm going to draw here. Is that peer pressure and Pan was getting to this at some point, right? Peer pressure is pressure that literally overrides all other considerations, right? Encouragement to doing something. It's like, okay, you're making a decision making process. Like, here's my 2 cents, right? You apparently care what I think, right? There's that weight to it. But like, this is what you should do, right? And then you take that into the entire decision making process. Peer pressure is like, we don't care, we don't give a shit, like, well, what it is, right? Like, you should do this, and if you don't, there's social consequences otherwise, right? So that's
I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
So those two things aren't the same,
Okay,
right?
well, so here's kind of what I'm saying. So like, this is gonna sound really stupid because I just made up a unit. So like, let's just say that of reasons. So we have 49. Think of it like a free body diagram in physics. Okay, you've got
Stop being
all the
a
forces.
nerd.
You have all the
Like,
forces
you,
acting on your
literally,
object,
I'm a
okay?
nerd
There's
and
gonna
I'm
be-
being
So
out-nerded
we have
here.
to sum.
Stop
We have
it.
to sum up the forces. Okay,
Stop
so
it. He's an
let's
essential
say
worker.
hold up. We have 49 and a half reasons not to immigrate, and we have 49 reasons to immigrate. Now, if you add that additional reason, Prime's encouragement to immigrate, that pushes you to 50 reasons to immigrate and still only 49.5 reasons not to immigrate. So you're affecting their decision making by this. However, the without you, basically with all the information that they had, you didn't provide them any more information with your encouragement, did you? Did you give them a better picture of what their risks are, what their benefits are?
Did they ask?
It doesn't matter if they ask.
Well, I mean, well, yeah.
I would
Because
argue
if they
that
ask,
your
like
encouragement
what
doesn't-
America is like, if they were like, yo, do you think I could come to America and have like a better chance for opportunity, like economic mobility and opportunity to move up in the world, to get a better job and have a career that I can actually like fucking maybe enjoy even? You think that's a possibility? I'd be like, fuck no. What the fuck? There's not a single country on earth that's, no, I'm just kidding. I would say, yeah, absolutely. America is where you want to fucking come.
Right,
Period.
I get that, but what I'm saying is the act of saying, hey, you should immigrate doesn't provide the immigrant with any additional information on the risks and stuff that they have to face. So without that, if what I'm saying is that their informed decision
but you're looking at
useless
Pan,
information
though.
was given.
Problematic.
You're being
You're living up to your
immigrate.
name right now, because
I
like
don't think I
the
am.
thing is, I think what you're doing, and I think what you've done this entire conversation, frankly, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not going that hard. And I think what you have done, I think this entire conversation is kind of like drilling down.
You're being as problematic as he is.
I
Come
know.
on.
Well, look, I'm being nice. Look, I'm problematic.
Nice.
He knows that.
Nice.
He knows that. I like
I don't
him.
know that.
You know? Okay, I'm just saying.
Like,
Prime, can we kick Captain A. Jones? He's saying mean things about me.
I'm just saying. God
I
damn it.
encourage
Well, now
it.
I feel bad.
In fact, if you
No,
don't do
that,
this,
Willie,
there'll be
don't do
social
that.
consequences.
Willie, no! You don't want to distort the risk signals, Willie. Come on.
I just I think you're looking at it too much in a vacuum. Like the scenario you're thinking of just doesn't actually happen, and like that's not how it works. And
Well, if it doesn't
like
happen,
in real
then this
life,
whole thing is worthless.
well,
and this
but,
whole discussion
hold
is
on,
meaningless
no,
because
no,
that's
no,
what
no. Let me fight
encouragement-
back on that though. Let me fight back real quick,
Okay, but
real quick,
okay.
because I think that who we're talking to right now is an audience of people who probably have a differing view, and a lot of them
I'm talking to
Americans.
you
A
for
lot of them,
no, we're talking to each other. They're listening. That's the point of an audience.
audience, I'm talking directly to you.
No
right
wonder
now,
this is
okay?
difficult.
You get up there. No,
wonder this
no.
is
You're not talking to him. I'm going to talk to him. Okay.
All right, fine. You talk to him. Like, I'll go play
on
with
the
my
other side of
ball
the
for next 10
screen.
minutes.
Okay. Look at me. Look me in the fucking eyes. If you are like on the fringe, or not on the fringe rather, but like you don't know which way you lean on this border issue. Maybe you're just like you just don't know much about it. So you're here at this panel and you're learning about it. You just walked into this fucking panel and now you're learning these new opinions and stuff. That's who we are influencing. These are possible American voters. They're definitely not people who are thinking about immigrating to the United States illegally because like they're involved in, or like their family is about to get killed by gangs, or their fucking their currency just got converted to Bitcoin, or their fucking war-torn their war-torn country is all fucked up. Like, I'm just saying. That's it. That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Thank you.
That's just like, it's crazy. It's like whatever happened to just like, I just want to go to the United States because it's just the economic opportunity is just better. But like for all the examples, it has to be they're fighting and there's flames behind them, and like and they're running through the jungle and they're jumping onto the last boat, and then they're like there's people that they're leaving behind and they push through the crowd, and then they
just one hand.
Whatever happened to
the
just being
wedge,
an immigrant?
okay?
And not just being like, whatever happened to me just being like a regular immigrant and not
What
being like
happened
a
was-
refugee.
wait,
I gave
Wiggle.
the example of somebody with just a lack of economic mobility.
Wiggle, what
You know I'm
happened
saying?
was-
I
what
gave
hap-
that example of problematic man. He rejected it. He rejected
Oh my
it.
god.
Go ahead.
Well, I
Oh,
feel like what I said had something to it, though.
Let's go to Ty, and then we'll go back to you, Pam.
And so this was just a bit of a snide comment, but it's real. Is that what happened to it? Is that we literally saw to the point where two people flew off a fucking an AC-130 because they were trying to get here. Like, this shit's real. Like, people pack up their shit and they're literally like hanging on the outsides of airplanes to get here. So yeah, like it's more than just sometimes people want to come here. Sometimes they are that desperate.
Think about this, man. People hear that and they still don't want to pay their taxes. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I
can't
bet that
imagine.
person.
It's
I
me.
bet that person would have paid their taxes. Right, that person on the airplane.
God damn it.
I'm not paying my taxes. You can't make me.
Okay, that was lighthearted stuff. I appreciate it.
What are you going to say, Pan?
Well, I feel like we kind of you were responding to what I was saying, Prime, before Captain A. Jones chimed in. So like, if an immigrant has like 49 and a half reasons not to immigrate.
Oh my God! Stop being a nerd.
I don't know what to tell you. I think this is a valid point. I'm
Well, I
sorry,
did-
Tiberius.
Okay,
I'm sorry
here's
you
the
don't
problem,
like
dude. I'm
This
a
is what-
nerd. Look, I am a fellow nerd. I love to put things in little numbers and be like, all right, this is the X value, this is the Y value, this is the Z value, and this is the sum total. Like 100% with you here. Problem is, where is this conversation going? Because we've been circling the drain for like an hour, and I don't know
conversation
where.
hasn't gone anywhere because I can't say.
All right,
This is
fine.
like
I'll
me-
shut up for like 3
No,
minutes.
it's
You got
okay.
3 minutes to sell this to me.
No, this is a panel, not a pan lecture. So
It's a panel, not a panel.
Exactly.
Lecture.
Mm.
now this isn't a pan L. This is a pan W. Am I right, chat?
Prime was I able to answer the questions that you
That's
had
better.
in the way that you
That's
wanted them?
better.
I don't know. I tried with you guys, but I don't know. Pan is, I don't know.
I tried my best. I'm sorry.
Whoever this fifth person was, they really.
Was
Okay.
there somebody else that was supposed to join in?
We didn't have anyone.
Okay.
So let's. Okay, so I don't know. I guess we can't really make any more headway here, which is unfortunate. I feel like there's a
We're
lot more
making
to this
headway?
topic. I think there's a lot more to this topic, but all right,
Well,
that's
what more
fine.
this topic?
No,
No, wait. Let's go there. Why not?
Small council, big minds. Big minds.
I'm feeling some real small brain syndrome right now. Like I
I
just feel like I'm
am
dumb as hell right now. I
I'm
really do.
offended. I am. No, where did you want to take this topic, Prime?
I really wanted to
Take it to the open panel.
examine like what makes an unjust law, right?
Oh well,
But-
yeah. Okay, that's.
Oh,
Well, then
Yeah,
that
we
should
can
have
do
been the
that.
question, shouldn't it?
Well,
Well, the problem-
the question was
Shots
breaking the
fired.
law.
Wait.
Fuck you. The question was
So-
breaking the law, but I also wanted to we're going to be talking about this. No, not that we're going to be. We're not going to be weighing Pan's encouragement units, right? Like, yeah, I'm sorry, that didn't come to me when I was formulating this question. Like, oh yeah, Pan's going to come up with his encouragement units, and we're going to have to deal with that
I'm
shit.
sorry,
I'm sorry.
leftists are
No,
scared by
I'm
numbers.
sorry.
I'm
I didn't,
sorry.
yeah, my man
come
came
up
in
with
sounded like Vision.
problematic-
bro.
problematic algebra. I apologize. That didn't cross my mind. Those are the things that are gonna happen. Fuck me.
So I'll be happy to explore that. The only problem is that's a meta ethics conversation. So like, we have to acknowledge that straight out of the gate.
No, it's not a meta ethics conversation.
Oh
We can
fuck
get
yeah,
around
it is, dude.
No, everyone agree. Okay, we don't have to talk about the underlying essence of reality. No, we can start with our agreed presuppositions. Like we agree on some principles about what makes a law moral or immoral, right? We can start there. That's not meta ethics. We're talking about, luckily, 95% of humans, or we agree on 95% of moral issues. Okay.
Do we?
So do you think murdering is okay?
In some
Depends.
circumstances, yeah,
No. Okay.
absolutely.
Killing
Holy
is
shit.
okay in some circumstances.
Okay,
but
sure.
Murdering? Okay, sorry. My point is, do you generally agree that you want the people around you to have a better life than them to have a worse life?
The people around me to have a better life. Or
Who are the
a
people
worse
around
life.
me?
Who are we talking about?
I'll tell you first and
Sorry.
foremost.
The answer is not
The
yes.
First and
people you
foremost-
like. The people you like.
First, I don't care about the people around me having a better or worse life unless
Okay, then just
that
you.
has a combining effect with me. So if they're around me and they live a better life and that gives me a better life, then you want to have that positive feedback.
Well, yeah, doesn't that give you a
Yeah.
better life? I mean, personally,
Yes.
I prefer the people living around me to be happy rather than the sad.
So
I think that makes a better life for me.
Okay. So I think the point of a law, right, is to protect the third party. You have
Oh, I thought you were preaching Islam for a second.
Oh Jesus Christ! Now, do they smoke weed in Islam? There's
No,
a
you
bunch
said-
of weed smoking.
You said the point of
If
Allah.
that's
Yeah,
the
point
thing.
Allah, yeah.
Oh my God! I didn't. Okay. All right. Look, the point of a law is that you're protecting a third party. This is why marijuana, anti-marijuana laws are bad, because if I smoke marijuana, I'm not hurting anybody. Nobody's getting fucking hurt by my decision to smoke marijuana.
I don't know. I feel like the audience's brain
Arguably,
cells are being hurt.
I'm getting hurt, sure, but I'm not hurting anybody else. That's the whole point. Like that's why that's why greenhouse gases are a bad thing, because they hurt the third party. They hurt all of us. That's why we need to solve that issue. That's why you need to drive a certain speed limit. Supposedly, I never follow that one though. Fuck that one. I'm just saying.
Yeah, obviously. So
Some laws are there, and
negative
a lot of
externalities.
laws. In fact, I think like the vast majority of laws are there to protect other people. So like when a law, so if the question is when is a law unjust, then you could say that a law is unjust when it's restricting somebody from doing something that's not hurting a third party, such as maybe gambling, doing drugs, prostitution. I'm just trying to go down the list of things that I can think of.
Okay.
There you go. I answered the question, baby. Fucking goddamn. Next.
This is like a law.
I don't think you
A law
did.
is not justifiable. If it's not justifiable, if like you can't give me a rational reason for why we have this law, then the reasoning is irrational. Then it's an unjust law. So if you tell me that the basis of this law is this thing, and then I say I look at this thing, and then as time progresses we realize that that thing doesn't make sense. So let's say we had a different interpretation of physics or something, and then we created a law based off of that, and then as time progressed, like this thing didn't matter anymore, and then we looked back at that law and it was still on the books. I'd say that's an unjust law. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. It doesn't make sense. You can't rationalize it to me. You can't explain it to me. It doesn't make any sense. You're just restricting people's freedom for like no reason at all. I think that plays off of what Captain A. Jones was saying earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, okay, so I actually disagree. I think it's completely subjective what makes a law just or unjust. It depends on what, obviously what we think is just or unjust, and whether or not the law is in accordance with our own personal theories of justice. So, like, I do find Captain A. Jones's description appealing, right? Because that's kind of like the method of law, or like what I look for in the law, right? I want laws to limit negative externalities to third parties. I think that's a great purpose for laws. That's now, to be fair, that's only one purpose. There's other purposes as well, but I don't think that allows me to say a law is inherently just, because the reasons that I find that sort of thing just is ultimately arbitrary, right? Like you can have other, basically whether or not a law is just is just basically whether or not you think it aligns with your own theory of justice, right?
I agree. Because you can see that in this. Like, you take what Captain A. Jones said. What if you only see yourself as American, the people in this border? Then, like, that third party could be someone outside of that border. And then the people within your border might disagree on, like, well, this is harming people. You'd say, well, those people shouldn't be considered. Like, we don't care about pollution outside of our country. Like, I don't care about that. Or I don't care about the effects of what we do, because those third party, they're not voting members, they're not people here. So that would play into what you're talking about, where that there'd be a divide based on like people's different moral sentiments on it.
Well, I think that'd probably be just a issue with the lawmaking process rather than like I would call that sort of law unjust by my moral framework, right? I don't like a law that says you're allowed to pollute as long as it's not in America. I feel like that would probably break my
Bring it
morals.
back to immigration, and you say that there's some people who believe that as long as there's refugees out there in the world, the United States has space. Bring every refugee to the United States. We'll keep space for every single one until it becomes a problem. And when it becomes a problem for space wise, then then we'll deal with it then. And there's a lot of people that come on these panels advocate for that. And then there's a lot of other people that say, no, this ground, this area, this is sacred. This is not sacred in the sense of we pray to it or what have you, but it's the idea of that we have a good thing going. And so the more people we bring, there's inherently going to be some more problems. So let's make this a slower process and bring fewer people in, and then we'll measure this, and then we'll have a measured response, and then we can bring in more and more people. But there'll be a limit. And then there's people who say, no, until we fix things here at home, we're not bringing any other people here, because what is the point of that? That'll be immoral to the people who live here. And then there's people who have different frameworks on that within the country.
Hate that we're back at abortion. Or no, I'm sorry, immigration.
We're not back at immigration. We're just we're stopping by, right?
Oh, okay.
We're just passing go.
The
Yeah,
city
we're-
doesn't
we're
have
on
a lot
We're on
of
a very
roads.
short visa. We're on a short visa.
Exactly. It's gonna
We're-
expire.
Immigration is one of the thoroughfares, is the thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like goes to a lot of different places.
So okay, but
That's why
I
there's
do-
always traffic.
Yeah. So can you answer the question, or
You?
no? I mean anyone, like respond to Wiggle. I don't. Does want to
I
respond?
think what
I just
Captain,
said a statement.
Captain definitely answered the question. Wiggle, I think largely did, and then Pan, I'm not sure. I kind of got lost in whatever the hell he said.
How do you think?
Gave an answer.
How do
He
you
gave an answer.
determine a law
I
is
responded
unjust?
to it.
Tiberius, like just.
Yeah, I'm chewing on this one, dude, and I'm having a lot of trouble with it because number one is that before I even actually ask that question, there's another question that I ask, and that is that law enforced? And that is it backed up by like an authority? Because that's important. But that's all. I'll get to that conversation later. I'm having a real trouble with this because there's laws that I'm a little bit more socially conservative on, where it's like, you know what, you don't do this because it's the wrong fucking thing to do. But I have to give you a universal token as to what that actually is, and I'm like not finding, and I apologize for that, but I just don't have it. So if I think of it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I kind of stated it pretty clearly what I think an unjust law is, and I don't think that I don't think I can think of many examples where I would disagree with almost my principle on it. I dare say a principle, because I usually hate principles because they lock you into things and you can't fucking be maneuverable, and you can't.
Yeah, how dare you stand the whole?
Jones, what you said was what makes a law just. You didn't say what makes a law unjust.
I'm sorry.
Did you? Maybe I missed.
No,
it.
I said if it hurts a third party. So like, and then then
that would make the law just, though, right? If a
I don't know what
behavior hurts a third
unjust is.
party,
That's too unjust. Doesn't feel that's
but you know what
too
just
much of an
is?
ambiguous. No, that's too much. That's also ambiguous. What is justice?
But hold on, a law that like someone's gonna get hurt in these laws doesn't mean. I don't know why you're drawing the line and saying that makes it unjust, right? Because like a murderer, right, is going to be hurt because they're gonna like you're gonna imprison
That's
them.
not what anybody means. That's not what anybody means.
But that's
when
what you
they say
said.
that.
That's what you said.
No. You're just nitpicking it ridiculously. What it means, and I'm saying obviously because I think it is pretty obvious, is that if somebody murders somebody else, that person who is murdered is the third party. That's obvious. And so that's why we have laws designed to protect people against, like, getting or at least to not protect you against getting murdered, but at least to punish the people but getting murdered. But that's why pollution, that's a third party effect. We are the third party who's affected by pollution.
Right, but all the laws you're describing are laws that you think are just. You're not describing a law that you think is unjust, right? You're saying
an unjust
pollutions are just.
An unjust law would be any law against drugs in any
against
way.
marriage equality.
Like I think all drugs should be legal.
What if you're selling to a
liberal.
minor?
Wait.
What if you're selling like a drug to a minor?
Yeah, I mean, like, arguably, what even is a minor? Is it 18? Is it 21? Is it 25? Like,
what if you're selling it to somebody's like? What if you're
do you want to? If you want to get into that argument, but no, I don't think that drugs should be sold to minors. I'm not that liberal or libertarian when it comes to it. But I mean, if you really want to go there, like,
I got a question.
I
for
don't.
the field marshal.
I think 18 should be the limit. If you can go to war, you should be able to fucking shoot some heroin. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, that's exactly what I think.
All right, Field Marshal, I got a question for you, buddy, because this one's real. All right, so drugs, some of them are far less horrible than others, but some of them are pretty bad, right? Now right. So we can say they have a primary effect. It's on that one person, and they can do whatever they want. Now I respect where you're coming from. But we do have to acknowledge that they do have secondary and primary effects where it does become third-party effectors. Is that you have people who literally get addicted to drugs and they steal from their mother, so that they can feed their addictions, right?
I got family members who have done exactly that from my mother. Yeah.
Right. So do you feel any compulsion to where a drug law would actually be violent or not violent?
Okay, so I think it's actually okay. I love it when they bring up these kind of arguments because I've actually lived that. I have so many family members who were heroin addicts. Okay, thank God they're not anymore. Somehow, some of them made it. A lot of them didn't though. And this is exactly why I think all drugs should be legal. They were heroin addicts. They also sold drugs. They also were in gangs. They were in a lifestyle that was purely there because of the illegality of drugs.
Okay.
Pure and simple.
That's hip hop as fuck.
Oh, I mean, dude, don't get me started because I've lived a completely different life, my dude. I have lived a completely different life before this one that you so luxuriously see here in San Francisco.
So,
seriously, and from what I've seen, with actual heroin addicts stealing shit from me, I've had shit stolen from me. So you want to talk about stealing shit from your family? Yeah, I know. I get it. And through all of that, through seeing my family member's arm literally with gangrene from the fucking fingertips to the up here, his entire arm was green. I've seen that with my own eyes, and yet I'm still sitting here saying that yes, heroin should be legal. It should be regulated. It should be the potency and all that should be clearly labeled, and it shouldn't have fentanyl in it. This should all be regulated. It should.
I'm curious. Wouldn't regulation be an instance of you basically stopping people from having drugs, right? Wouldn't it? If you say, hey, your heroin can only be X% heroin or whatever it is. I'm not a heroin addict, sorry. But not regulation?
Okay, ask any heroin addict. They don't want fentanyl in their heroin.
No, I get that, but I get that.
We need a heroin addict answer. Prime.
Also,
okay,
regulation.
Wow.
Wouldn't
Jones?
what do you mean by regulation? Just mean it's what it says it is, or?
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Look, if somebody comes up with a new drug, then they come up with a new drug. I'm sure new drugs are going to be developed. Damn right, new drugs. I hope new drugs are developed. Safer and fucking awesomer drugs. You're damn right. I hope. And please, you want to talk about encouragement? Now I'm encouraging. All right, more and better and safer drugs, folks. Okay, I'm a willing and able buyer. All right.
So hey, Jones, can I ask you a question to follow on?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So I'm just breaking this down. If you disagree with me, that's fine. From the moral axiom that you gave me is that you think it's unjust for the third party effects, right? I'm actually going to make the framework that these drug laws are actually just because of what you said, that they are harming third party effects. And where you are saying that, no, we need to get rid of these laws, which I actually agree with you, not picking on that fight, is that it is a consequentialist argument where it's look, this shit don't work, dude. We need a different process. We need a different way. So would you agree with that assessment, or does it somehow not violate that third party effect?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat just the last part of that?
Okay, so I think, and I'm going to try to sell you on this, is that this actually these laws violate your axiom. They do absolutely hurt third parties, and thus they would be a just law. I'm asking, do you agree that the reason why you are against these laws, which I am as well, is because of a consequentialist argument that they didn't work, we needed a different thing, or we needed a different process, and it's a different process that, okay, cool.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Because I think if the drug war had worked, and my uncle, sorry, not to call out my fucking family members, my unnamed family members were not fucking, able to get drugs, then I guess Well, then they wouldn't have been drug addicts. And I would probably be in favor of the laws as we had them if they worked. If I saw some, yeah. But again, everything I've seen, I think you could pinpoint it all down to drugs being illegal.
All right.
Yeah, all the harm basically that I saw was simply because it was illegal. If it was illegal, regulated, and they could just shoot it up without, you know, getting it for way cheaper and without having to
Saying,
fucking do
do
the
it.
things that they had to do to get it. It just, I think that would have been a much better situation.
Do the shit from the bottom up. That's all I'm asking. All I'm asking is, you want to ban some shit, go vote for it, and you like go clean slate. Vote for it wherever you are locally. There's people that die in car accidents, whatever, in your locality. Then you guys will have regulations in your locality. All right. I don't want to have to live with the sins of fucking Appalachia, or like the sins of like wherever you guys are dealing with your problems. Like, things should be based on the bottom up. If the people in my area don't have a problem with a certain substance, then I don't know why it should be illegal if you're an adult and it doesn't cause harm to others. And once it starts causing a harm to others, then you can legislate against it specifically in my area. That's it. That's it.
I think that's a pretty good take.
Should be. It should be.
I don't know.
Should be everyone's take.
I'm trying to nitpick it so hard right now. I
Yeah.
can't think about it. I'm gonna get back.
See,
to
all I do, you call it a take, but all I do is I give. And then all you guys
Oh shit.
Okay. Anyone have anything
Did
else?
that go in a better direction?
Well, I mean,
wow. Okay.
I was just patiently waiting for Pan to turn this into into just units, right? And
Okay, look, the units. I don't think the unit. Okay, I don't think you can quantify any of this stuff. Okay, it was just a point because it's really hard to get people to think about marginal cases if you don't give them numbers. I think this is a problem with everyone else's here's brain. Okay, I don't like actual units because there's no such thing as like a just unit or a reason unit, right? But in order to get you simpletons to understand marginal cases, I'm sorry, I have to put numbers to it because that's the only thing that gets it through that thick skull of yours.
Oh my! Someday they're gonna make a Netflix show about you. I'll watch it.
The unraveling of problematic. Now featured on Netflix.
Okay. All right. Well, so I guess we'll end it here. All right. Thanks all for coming through. We are going to continue on to our open walk on panel. I think we got a fun topic here about mugshots. But
What?
yeah, about mugshots. Whether we should
This will be good.
have them. Yeah. So yeah. Anyway, well, we're gonna have another thing. Right? I'm gonna get rid of these people, and I think you'll be happy for it.
Fine, I don't want to be here anyway.
The answer with mugshots is obviously they're okay as long as you include face filters.
Oh, what? Anyway, okay, so this is why I didn't get the
Well, so that they can post them to Instagram. Makes you look good. You have to look good in your mugshot. It's not fair.
Oh my god!
Like all the mugshots you see, they're trash. I want fucking first page of Instagram fucking mugshots. Okay.
I mean, I just really wish they would go around with the toner and like just clean up some of the blemishes.
Oh,
Fuck,
there has
like,
You
There
should
has
be
to be
able
a paid
God.
comedian.
You
A
need to
paid
be
comedian
able to
before
use
every
your
mugshot.
mugshot should be so high quality that you can use it as a headshot for the next job you apply to. That's my take.
Okay.
What the
I want
fuck?
crimes to be cool again.
Oh,
Give
okay.
a paid comedian so that everyone who takes a mugshot is
This
smiling.
is why
cheesing.
I usually don't
cheesing.
even reveal what it is before I even go because of this. All right.